Chapter 1328. The pig has become a spirit. Rundion looked at the cute little spirit energy pig and curled his lips in disdain. He waved his hand and the spirit energy python pounced towards the spirit energy pig. Everyone felt that there was no suspense. The spirit energy pig would definitely be swallowed by the python. Yoon Chujia's materialization of spirit energy was not even as good as the purple needle from before. Including Yoon Chujio herself, no one had confidence in the spiritual energy piglet. The reason why Yoon Chujio summoned the spiritual energy piglet was to attract attention and stall for time. However, something unexpected happened. Just when the spiritual energy python opened its bloody mouth to swallow the spiritual energy piglet, the spiritual energy piglet actually jumped onto the back of the spiritual energy python and then took a bite at the head of the spiritual energy python. Although the spirit energy python kept rolling, the spirit energy piglet's four little hooves firmly grabbed the body of the spirit energy python and took a bite. In less than 10 breaths, the spirit energy python was completely eaten by the spirit energy piglet. And then the spirit energy piglet pounced on Randong. Renzo was dumbfounded. What the hell was this thing? He originally thought that it was a piglet that didn't have much ability, but why did it look so agile? Could it be that the little girl had already learned a high-level materialized technique? How was this possible? She was barely able to learn an intermediate materialized technique. That's not right. Wasn't she at the 5th level of the spirit sect? How could she know an intermediate materialized technique at the level of a spirit saint? Renzion felt that his brain was a little lacking. In just a moment of distraction, the spirit energy piglet had already pounced in front of him and bit down on his throat. Renzion hurriedly dodged to the side, but the spirit energy piglet still bit his left shoulder. In an instant, his left shoulder became a bloody mess. Moreover, what was even more surprising was that according to common sense, after a physical spirit energy attack, it would basically dissipate. However, not only did the spirit energy piglet not dissipate, it became even fiercer and pounced on Ranzion again. Ranzion dodged while summoning another spiritual power python to pounce towards the spiritual power piglet. After that, there was no after, because the spiritual power piglet once again ate the spiritual power python, and then it became even fiercer. It seemed that its body size had become a little bigger. Everyone was shocked to have an epiphany. Fuck. This spiritual power piglet could actually devour the opponent's spiritual power to delay its death time. This was too heaven-defying. How was this possible? There had never been anyone who could materialize something like this. In the course of the battle, wouldn't it be a great advantage? After Runzion's shock, he simply took the treasured sword and slashed at the spirit energy piglet. An even more devastating thing happened. The spirit energy piglet actually wanted to eat the treasured sword. Fortunately, Renzon's sword was a spirit tool, so the piglet couldn't bite it. Then it suddenly turned around and pounced on another guard. That guard was watching the show with a dumbfounded look. He never dreamed that the materialized spirit energy would suddenly change its target. The spirit energy piglet bit his throat, and he died just like that. Everyone only felt that the piglet had turned into a spirit. Fortunately, the spirit energy piglet also exhausted its spirit energy and disappeared. Not to mention the others, even Yoon Chujio herself was dumbfounded. When the little piglet gave up on biting the sword, Yoon Chujio only muttered subconsciously, "You stupid pig. Don't you know how to bite the person next to you?" Then she saw the little piglet really bite the guard next to it. Chapter 1329. Debeiming is back. Yoon Chujio now felt that there was nothing embarrassing about materializing a piglet, because this piglet was not an ordinary piglet. It was a piglet that had turned into a spirit. Ha ha ha. Yoon Chujio felt very proud. If it was not because the conditions did not allow it, she would definitely bring out the Xiao Hanyo and let it see how awesome this piglet was. Renzion's mood wasn't so good. He swallowed a hemostatic pill and said, "This little girl is very evil. Kill her to avoid future trouble." The guards of the Netherworld Palace attacked the palace mistress and Yoon Chujio again. Although Yoon Chujio's spiritual piglet was evil, it could still fight one-on-one. With so many people surrounding them, the spiritual piglet's help was limited. Yoon Chujio and the palace master's wife were forced to retreat to the edge of the cliff. They had no way to retreat. Fortunately, at this moment, Yoon Chujio sent the news of Xiao He through her spiritual sense. The array core of the 8-door golden lock array had been destroyed. Yoon Chujia's expression changed. If she could hold on for a while longer, the pretty boy would rush in. At that time, she and the old witch would be saved. Although Yoon Chujia's spiritual power was much lower than the palace master's wife's, it was a little easier for her to rely on the countless defensive spirit tools on her body. Yoon Chujio could not help but curse in her heart. This old witch, there must be a lot of treasures in the Temple of Immortals treasury. You should have more defensive spirit tools on you. You're really stupid. This fellow did not even think about it. Who could be as perverted as her to have thousands of defensive spirit tools on her body? Moreover, her spiritual sense could not stand it. Therefore, besides protecting herself, Yoon Chujio also had to help the palace lord's wife from time to time. In any case, this fellow would let her attack as she pleased. At most, she would shatter a few defensive spirit tools. Dharma Protector Tao saw that they couldn't attack for a long time, so he joined the battle and went straight for the palace lord's wife. Dharma Protector Tao was at the 6th level of the spiritual venerable realm. The moment he joined, the palace lord's wife became even more passive. Her body was also injured. Although it wasn't fatal, it was dripping with blood. It looked very horrifying. Seeing the palace master's wife like this, Yoon Chujio could only leap forward to help block Dharma Protector Tao and the others' attacks. Several spiritual power attacks landed on Yoon Chujio's body, and the defensive spiritual device on this guy's body began to crack. This guy's heart ached terribly, but he could not just watch the old witch get captured. Although the old witch's words were harsh, she was still not bad to her. Just as Yoon Chujio and the palace master's wife could not hold on any longer, Di Biming rushed in with his men. Di Biming waved his hand, and a huge spirit power ice dragon charged towards Dharma Protector Tao and the others. Dharma Protector Tao and the others hurriedly dodged in shock. The spirit power ice dragon turned around and bit towards Dharma Protector Tao. Dharma Protector Tao turned pale with fright. Not only was this ice dragon huge in size, it actually had such intelligence. It was too terrifying. At the same time, the secret guards of the Temple of Immortals rushed over and forced Renzon and the others to retreat. Yoon Chujio and the palace master's wife could finally catch their breath. Di Biming's body was full of killing intent. He did not dare to imagine what would happen if he came in a quarter of an hour later. These people deserved to die. Previously, Di Biming's spiritual power was suppressed in the Qingxian continent, so this was the first time Yoon Chujio saw Di Biming's real spiritual power. It was also the first time she saw the elegance of the top experts in the Tianyuan continent. Although Dharma Protector Tao was at the 6th level of the spiritual venerable realm, in front of Di Biming, he could only parry without being able to fight back. In less than 15 minutes, he was beaten by Di Biming until he vomited blood and fainted. 2 secret guards came forward to guard Dharma Protector Tao. Chapter 1330. A thin-skinned girl like me, the Netherworld Palace was leaderless, and they were quickly killed by the secret guards of the Temple of Immortals. The process of capturing the captives was like chopping melons and cutting vegetables. Yoon Chujio felt that the secret guards that were left behind in the Temple of Immortals must be fake secret guards. Otherwise, how could there be such a huge difference? In fact, what Yoon Chujio did not understand was that the secret guards of the Temple of Immortals were divided into 2 parts. One part was the elites that Di Biming had taken away. They were all personally trained by Di Biming, and the remaining part was the secret guards that received regular training. Naturally, there was less killing intent. However, after this incident, these secret guards had learned their lesson. Especially the 20 people who had gone to change the array's core. They had all joined the elite secret guard battalion. The rest of the tasks were to clean up the battlefield and interrogate their statements. Yoon Chujio felt that she could retire successfully. Hence, after this fellow had a good meal, he fell into a deep sleep until the next morning. Only then did she come to see the palace mistress and Di Biming. When the palace mistress saw Yoon Chujio, she smiled like a flower. "Little girl Jo, come to Auntie's place quickly. Have you had breakfast? What do you want to eat? I'll get someone to prepare it immediately." Yoon Chujio saw the palace mistress' enthusiasm and was not used to it. "Auntie, you should talk to me normally. Otherwise I'll feel a little cold." The palace master's wife chided jokingly, "You little girl, do you like it when I scold you?" Yoon Chujio giggled. "That's the way to be cordial. Are your injuries all right?" It's not a big deal. Little Joe, it was me who wronged you in the past. I apologize to you. Can you forgive me? The palace master's wife asked with a face full of self-reproach. And I have to consider this. After all, being called a trash by others really hurts people's self-esteem, especially for a thin-skinned girl like me. Yun Chujo said pretentiously. The palace mistress in Di Biming's eyes twitched violently. You're thin-skinned? Emma, don't joke around. If you were thin-skinned, there would probably be no shameless people in this world. Little Joe girl, it was indeed Aunt's fault in the past. How about this, I'll bring you to the Temple of Immortals treasury. You can take whatever you like. Yun Chujo rolled her eyes. Aunt, I remember that you said that you gave me the key to the treasury. If you gave me the key to the treasury, wouldn't all the things in the treasury be mine? Why should I pick anything? The palace mistress felt that some people like Yun Chujo were just trying to get on her good side. Hence, her face darkened. Little Joe, am I being too kind to you? Hurry up and give me back the key to the treasury. I'll bring you to pick out a few pieces when I have time. Yun Chujo returned the key to the palace mistress. This fellow secretly pursed his lips. This old witch really uses people to face the front but not the back. She flipped out faster than a book. I didn't say that I wouldn't give it to her. Why was she being so fierce? The palace master's wife also felt that she had gone a little overboard. However, if this little rascal didn't press down on her a little, she would be able to go up to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Hence, the palace master's wife ignored this fellow and turned to ask Di Biming, Biming, how's the interrogation going? Has Dharma Protector Tao given an explanation? He has used all kinds of criminal law and is very stubborn. He didn't say anything. In the end, I could only use soul search. However, someone had left a mark on his soul, so I didn't get much useful information. The other small fries knew very little. They only told me that they were under the orders of Vice Palace Master Lu of the Netherworld Palace. They first took over the Temple of Immortals, then continued to expand and eventually took over the entire Tianyuan continent. Chapter 1331 The Palace Master's Wife Sighed. I still remember the disaster 11 years ago. Compared to that time, it was not too serious this time. The people who came were not too strong. After all, those people had the power of the Netherworld. Yun Chujo was confused. She blinked and asked, Prince Charming, Aunt, what happened back then? At first, Yun Chujo called Biming brother in front of the palace master's wife. But once she called him Big Brother and later she simply called him Big Brother. Now there was naturally nothing to hide. The palace master's wife briefly told her about what happened back then. The Netherworld Palace was the biggest force in the Netherworld continent, and its status was like the royal family in the secular world. The Netherworld Hall had always been drooling over the Tianyuan continent. They felt that the spiritual energy in the Tianyuan continent was much better than that in the Netherworld continent. Therefore, after many years of careful planning, they had almost succeeded 11 years ago. First, they sent people to infiltrate the various major factions as spies. Then, they took advantage of the time when the leaders of the various major factions were out or in closed-door cultivation to imprison all the women and family members of the various major factions. Then, they forced the various factions to submit. If there was anyone who did not agree to surrender, they would directly kill those people. Other than that, their spiritual power was also very high. What was even more difficult to deal with was that a portion of them also had the power of the Netherworld. Their spiritual power contained the cold energy of the Netherworld. Once the cold energy of the Netherworld invaded their bodies, it was difficult to eradicate it. They could only suppress it with their spiritual power. Hence, the Tianyuan continent was in an extremely passive situation. Just when the Tianyuan continent was in a precarious situation, the 12-year-old Di Biming sneaked into the place where the women and their families were being held. Not only did he miraculously save them, but the people from the Netherworld Palace also died. Only Vice Palace Master Lu escaped with serious injuries. However, ever since that time, Di Biming was also affected by the Netherworld cold chi and suffered a lot of torture. As for how Di Biming had killed those people back then, even Di Biming himself did not know. At that time, he was also eager to save his mother. In addition, he was still young and fearless. He actually managed to sneak in. However, he was quickly discovered and was surrounded and beaten up. He had no recollection of what happened after that. When he woke up, he discovered that the ground was filled with the corpses of the Netherworld Hall guards. Then he saved them all. However, before that, Shwe Wuji's mother's old illness had relapsed. As she did not receive timely treatment, she passed away. After hearing this, Yun Chujo guessed, Prince Charming, could it be that an expert helped you but did not want to expose his tracks, so he left? Di Biming nodded. We also guessed the same. After that, I took the old man of the Heaven Lake as my teacher and entered the Tianyuan Academy to study. I wanted to become stronger and be able to protect my family. However, I almost made the same mistake again. Luckily, I have you, little Jiu. Otherwise, Prince Charming, what are you talking about? Am I not your family? Aunt is your mother and is not far from my mother. I naturally have to protect her. Aunt, don't you think so? Yun Chujo said with a cheeky smile as she hugged the palace lord's wife's arm. The palace lord's wife scolded jokingly, You little scoundrel. Although you saved me, you still have to enter the top 100 of the prodigy roll. Otherwise, I will always be your aunt. Di Biming was instantly excited when he heard that. Did his mother accept little Nine? The prodigy roll was not important. As long as his mother truly accepted little Nine, it was better than anything else. Chapter 1332. The new student. The three of them chatted for a while more before Yun Chujo asked, Prince Charming, how did you find out that something was wrong? Logically speaking, you shouldn't have come back so quickly. After I arrived at the Spirit Stone mine, I felt that something was amiss. Moreover, I brought out all the elites. If something really went wrong, it would be bad. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was amiss. Hence, I took care of the matters there and rushed back. Di Biming was extremely glad that he had made this decision, otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The palace master's wife sighed. Actually, this matter was completely my negligence. If we were to strictly investigate, we wouldn't have allowed those people to sneak in. We wouldn't have allowed them to poison the food and water. Oh right, Prince Charming, have you found that netherworld elixir? Give me some. I'll study how this thing is refined. This thing is really useful to trick people. Yun Chujo said with a smile. The palace master's wife and Di Biming's faces stiffened. Little Joe's thoughts were indeed different from those of ordinary people. After 2 days, Di Linhan, who had received the news, had rushed back in a hurry. He was naturally terrified and his attitude towards Yun Chujo had become much friendlier. After this incident, Yun Chujo had fully demonstrated to them that not only could she protect herself, but she could also protect others. After the two great gods had settled the matter, Yun Chujia's days in the Temple of Immortals were extremely comfortable. There was food to eat, play and take. It was simply extremely comfortable. However, this fellow was a little unhappy. Ever since the last breakthrough, it had been several months since she had broken through. The spiritual energy in her body had long been saturated. If she could not break through, it was probably due to the lack of opportunities. Very quickly, it was once again the day of the opening of the Tianyuan Academy. Yun Chujo had taken away quite a number of good things from the Hall of Immortals. However, this fellow knew how to cause trouble. He gave the palace mistress a large piece of the nine-tailed fox's fur, and also gave Di Linhan an ancient profound iron chain. The two of them were naturally very satisfied, and the more they looked at the little lass, the more they found her pleasing to the eye. Little Nine Lass, when you return to the Tianyuan Academy, you must cultivate well and enter the top 100 of the prodigy roll as soon as possible. Do you hear me? The palace mistress used to be annoyed with Yun Chujo, but now, she was actually a little reluctant to part with her. She felt that it was not bad to marry this little scoundrel in as soon as possible. At least the longevity hall would be more lively. Aunt, don't worry. I will strive to graduate in 3 years, and then come back to help you look after the treasury. Yun Chujia's eyes were practically glowing when she thought of the longevity hall's treasury. You little scoundrel. You'd better scram quickly. The mistress of the temple master felt that she couldn't be too nice to this guy, or else she would definitely kick him in the face. Yun Chujo boarded the flying spirit tool, and returned to the Tianyuan Academy under the reluctant of everyone. Yun Chujo first met Feng Ming and the other two, then went to see Dean Huangfu. She giggled and gave him gifts. She had to maintain this relationship or else there would be no place to be struck by lightning. The dry old man was still in closed-door cultivation. She didn't know how the puppet research was going. The first-year freshman's entrance examination had already ended, and another batch of new students had entered Tianyuan Academy. Yun Chujo couldn't help but sigh. Time passed really quickly. A year had passed just like that. 2 days later, Tianyuan Academy officially began. On the first day of class, Teacher Jisha said before class, "A new student has arrived in our Huang class. You guys should get to know each other." As Teacher Jisha spoke, a man in his 20s walked in. As the man entered, the entire classroom seemed to brighten up. Chapter 1333, Lan Luochen. When everyone saw the man's appearance, they could not help but hold their breaths. The man's long hair was tied together loosely with a white headband, and his appearance was even more stunning, especially that melancholic and deep gaze. It made people unable to help but be intoxicated. Lan Luochen. The man lightly opened his thin lips, lightly spat out 3 words and did not speak anymore. His entire person gave off a faint melancholic feeling. Seeing this, Teacher Jisha could only add, "Lan Luochen is the new student who entered the school this time, but his foundation in all aspects is very good. He took the initiative to apply to jump to the 2nd grade, and the academy approved his request. From now on, he will be a student of the Huang class." "Alright, Lan Luochen, find an empty seat and sit down." Lan Luochen raised his eyes and indifferently glanced around. His gaze fell on Yun Chujo. Yes, the empty seat beside her. At this moment, Yun Chujo looked like a fool and was in a daze. Mermaid brother? Although Lan Luochen's eyes were black, his appearance was exactly the same as the mermaid brother. Could it be a coincidence? After Lan Luochen sat down, he did not even look at Yun Chujo. It was as if there was nothing beside him. Yun Chujo was extremely curious. It was not easy for her to make it to the end of the class. She turned around and asked with a smile, "Lan Luochen, do you know the mermaid brother?" Lan Luochen looked at her indifferently and left after saying that he did not know her. Yun Chujo shrugged her shoulders. It seemed that it was just that their looks were similar. Where was Big Brother Mermaid locked up? Lan Luochen was like a clear stream in the Huang class. Yes, he did not fit in with everyone. Other than attending class, there was no sign of him at all. It was as if he was invisible. However, there were many beauties, and Lan Luochen was like a grass in the Tianyuan Academy. Many girls would try their best to get close to Lan Luochen, but Lan Luochen ignored them. Then, the miserable Yun Chujo became the object of envy and hatred of the girls. Of course, in view of Yun Chujia's valiant performance, they only dared to gossip behind her back. In front of her they absolutely did not dare to say anything. On this day, Yun Chujo came to the academy's entrance and waited for the secret guards of the Temple of Immortals to deliver the talisman papers. This fellow had already decided that he would always have a few hundred sacks of talisman papers in his storage ring, just in case. Right at this moment, a flying spirit tool flew over from the sky. From the looks of it, its grade was not low. After the flying spirit tool landed, 8 beautiful maids came down from it. They laid down a snow-white cashmere carpet and said respectfully to Lan Luochen, "Young master, please." Then Lan Luochen stepped on the flying spirit tool on the carpet and left. Yun Chujo was dumbfounded. Why was this routine so similar to the old witch's routine? Could it be that all pretenders had the same routine? In the next few days, Lan Luochen's family background spread. Did you know? Lan Luochen is the young master of the Lan family. Lan family? Which Lan family? The Lan family from the far north. Ah, really? He is. Oh my god. Then why did he come to our Tianyuan Academy? Doesn't the far north have little contact with us? Besides, isn't there a Tianji Academy in the far north? Che, can the Tianji Academy compare to our Tianyuan Academy? Besides, as the young master of the Lan family, Lan Ruochen naturally has to come out for experiential learning. I guess it's considered experiential learning for him to come to our Tianyuan Academy. Well, the Lan family is very rich. I guess there will be more people chasing after Lan Ruochen this time. Chapter 1334 Puppet Disc. As expected, after Lan Ruochen's identity was exposed, some of the women who had been waiting to see what would happen immediately took action. When they met a man with such a great family background, good looks and spiritual power, they would not make a move. When should they wait? Lan Ruochan was cold and indifferent. He was indifferent to the advances of his pursuers. Other than seeing people in class, he would spend the rest of his time in his dormitory. Even Yun Chujio, who sat at the same table as him, had not spoken to him much. Yun Chujio had tried to probe him a few times in the beginning, but when she saw that he was indifferent, she gave up. It seemed that he really only looked like him. He was not the big brother mermaid at all. Yun Chujio's spiritual power level could not be broken through, so this guy had to go to Dean Huangfu again. Dean Huangfu was still using the same excuse. He could only wait patiently for an opportunity and had no other good ideas. Just as Yun Chujio was feeling bored, the dry old man finally came out of seclusion. The moment the dry old man came out of seclusion, he ran excitedly to Yun Chujio's courtyard. "My precious disciple. My precious disciple. What do you think of my newly developed puppet?" The dry old man took out a refined iron puppet. Yun Chujio looked at it and found that there were no runes on the refined iron puppet. She guessed that the dry old man had already successfully followed the design of the array disc and placed the runes that controlled the puppet on the puppet's abdomen. Sure enough, Yun Chujio opened the abdomen of the puppet and placed a device similar to the disc array inside. The dry old man said proudly, "How is it? This is half a year of my hard work. With this disc array, I can make refined iron puppets on a large scale." Yun Chujio curled her lips. What's the use of having so many idiots who don't distinguish between friend and foe? They can only be used to block it. The old man was so angry that he jumped up. "You little brat, it's easy to say. Why don't you try creating one for me? Forget about those who can differentiate between friend and foe. Even if you can create a refined iron puppet for me, even if you have the ability." Yun Chujio's fighting spirit was also stimulated. Creating a puppet, isn't it just a broken puppet? Get me a furnace, and it'll definitely get you a clever puppet. The dry old man directly waved his hand, and a furnace for refining artifacts appeared in the courtyard. "Humph, little brat, if you can make that kind of puppet you mentioned, I will call you master." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Master, how can I refine this without earth fire?" The dry old man then threw a jade box to Yun Chujio. This cold jade box contains fire marrow. One piece can be burned for a long time. "You little brat." Yun Chujio took the box with a smile. "Master, don't worry. I will not let this fire marrow go to waste. I will definitely make a world-shaking puppet." The old man pursed his lips. This guy was really a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. He was even world-shaking. If you could make an ordinary iron puppet, it was already considered your ability. From this day onwards, Yun Chujio would use it to fiddle with puppets when she was not in class. The old man surnamed Een was still crazy. Yun Chujio even suspected that he was doing it on purpose. Otherwise, why would he be fine without asking him about puppet techniques? Why would he go crazy when he asked about puppet techniques? "Fuck, I won't ask you anymore. I'll do it myself. I don't believe that I can't create a clever puppet." This fellow was also quite generous. She threw a 10,000-year-old black iron chain into the furnace and then sadly discovered that after several hours, the 10,000-year-old black iron chain hadn't changed at all. This fellow slapped her thigh, and she was also dumbfounded. If the 10,000-year-old black iron melted after being burned by fire, what kind of 10,000-year-old black iron would it be? Chapter 1335 Creating a Puppet by Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio had no choice but to put away the 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain and use ordinary refined iron to refine it. Needless to say, it was really a success. She followed the dry old man's method and made a puppet disc and placed it inside the puppet. After placing spirit stones on it, the puppet would be considered a success. However, Yun Chujio was not happy at all because this puppet was no different from the puppet created by the dry old man. It would only attack when it was attacked by spirit energy, or when it felt the fluctuation of spirit energy. Moreover, it was impossible to distinguish between friend and foe. Even Yun Chujio could beat it up. Bah! What's the use of such a puppet? It's better to have none. It might even hurt itself. Yun Chujio thought for a long time but could not think of any good idea. She could only let out the old man surnamed Een again. Old man, I just want to ask you one thing. How can this puppet become more intelligent? The old man glanced at the puppet that Yun Chujo had refined and curled his lips indiscernibly. He talked crazily, but at the end he said, "Only a puppet with a soul imprint is a good puppet." After the old man said that, he continued to act crazily. Yun Chujia's heart moved. After putting the old man away, she touched her chin and pondered the meaning behind the old man's words. Only a puppet with a spiritual imprint was a good puppet? That was to say, when creating a puppet, one had to leave the master's spiritual imprint on it. But how could one leave a spiritual imprint on the puppet? Yun Chujio was puzzled. She asked the old man with the surname In again, but he still pretended to be crazy and said nonsense. Yun Chujio was so angry that she could only go to the library to find the answer herself. Yun Chujio looked through the talismans and array formation books in the library, and had an idea. Perhaps she could separate a bit of my spiritual sense and then inject it into the puppet disc when she was refining it. Yes, that's what she should do. This guy's courage was really shocking. A cultivator's spiritual sense was extremely fragile. Even if it was damaged during normal times, it was still a big taboo, let alone forcefully separating it out. Although it was very small, it was still very dangerous. Yun Chujio, this fellow completely didn't care about these things. This fellow had his own fallacies. Since spiritual sense could grow, then this thing was like spiritual energy. If it was gone, then it could be replenished. Thus, this fellow began to follow her plan. When refining the puppet disc, he forcefully separated his spiritual sense and injected it into the puppet disc. Although Yun Chujio felt a slight pain in her divine sense, she did not think it was a big deal. She swallowed a spirit replenishing pill and continued to refine the puppet disc. The puppet disc was finally successfully refined. Yun Chujio excitedly placed the puppet disc on the abdomen of the refined iron puppet. After filling it with spirit stones, the puppet was activated. Yun Chujio tried to use her divine sense to communicate with her own divine sense imprint in the puppet disc. After establishing a divine sense connection, Yun Chujio said to the puppet, "Number 1, help me pick a fruit." As expected, the refined iron puppet walked to the tree and picked a fruit for Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio was so happy that she was going crazy. She kept ordering the puppet to do this and that. After experimenting for a while, she felt very satisfied. Then she sent a message to the dry old man. "Good disciple, come quickly. My puppet has been successfully developed." After the dry old man received the message, he curled his lips disdainfully. "Humph! Little brat. I want to see what kind of damn thing you have developed." Chapter 1336. Yun Chujia's puppet number 1. As soon as the old man entered Yun Chujia's courtyard, he saw a refined iron puppet standing next to Yun Chujio. From the looks of it, it was no different from an ordinary refined iron puppet. "Little brat, is this the clever puppet you were talking about?" "Yes, master. If my puppet is really clever, you don't have to call me master. I don't dare to ask for a disciple of your age. Just give me a few more of your good things," Yun Chujio said with a smile. The dry old man curled his lips. "If this puppet is really like what you said, it can distinguish between friends and enemies, and it also has a preliminary intelligence, it'll give you all my treasures, not to mention a few." "Master, you said it yourself. Don't go back on your words. I won't refuse anyone." The dry old man snorted. "Of course you mean what you say. Stop wasting time. I want to see how smart your puppet is." Yun Chujio smiled slyly and said to the puppet, "Number 1, go and pour a cup of tea for my master." The old man was amused. "Little girl, are you crazy? The puppet poured tea for me? It knows how to pour tea? What a joke." The old man's words stopped abruptly because the puppet picked up the teapot and really poured a cup of tea for the old man. Moreover, it was 80% full. "Number 1, pick a plate of fruits for my master. I want the red ones, not the green ones." Puppet number 1 picked up the empty plate on the table and quickly went to the bottom of the tree. He picked a few red fruits and placed them on the stone table. The old man was already dumbfounded. Yun Chujio picked up a fruit and waved it in front of the old man's eyes. "Master, you've come back to your senses. How is it? My puppet number 1 is not bad, right?" The old man suddenly stood up and took out a refined iron puppet from his storage bag. "Let it fight with my puppet." Let me have a look. Yun Chujo said to puppet number 1 indifferently. Number 1, show it what you've got. Puppet number 1 punched at the refined iron puppet. The refined iron puppet was not willing to be outdone. It raised its fist and fought back. The two puppets fought each other. The dry old man soon noticed the difference between the two puppets. His refined iron puppet didn't know how to dodge at all and only attacked. Yun Chujia's puppet was obviously much smarter. Not only did it attack in a methodical way, but it also knew how to dodge. It also knew how to dodge and kept attacking the refined iron puppet's abdomen. Obviously, it knew where its weakness was. Not long after, the refined iron puppet was flipped to the ground by puppet number 1. Moreover, he took out the spirit stones from its abdomen. The refined iron puppet was completely defeated. The dry old man's mouth was open like a wooden stake as he stood there in a daze. He did not speak for a long time. Clearly, he was quite shocked. Yun Chujo chewed on the fruit without saying a word. At this time, she had to have the demeanor of an expert. The dry old man finally came to his senses. His old face was full of excitement. My precious disciple, how did you make this puppet? Yun Chujo looked at the dry old man with a smile. Master, do you want to know how it was made? The dry old man nodded repeatedly. Yes, my good disciple, Quickly tell master. It's not impossible to tell you. Where are the good things you promised me? You said you would give all the good things to me. Yun Chujo stretched out her claws and said. Chapter 1337. Yun Chujia's puppet number 2. The old man took out a few spiritual tools and gave them to Yun Chujo. Good disciple, you should at least leave some coffins for master, right? Take these first. Master will give you a few more when he gets something good in the future. Yun Chujo felt that old man Xiaogan would get angry if she took more. So she stopped and told him about the process of making the puppet number 1. After the old man heard it, the impact he received was no weaker than when he saw puppet number 1. He shouted angrily, nonsense. This is simply nonsense. Don't you know that the spiritual sense is the weakest part of a cultivator? You actually tried to split your spiritual sense? This is too much nonsense. Yun Chujo blinked her eyes. Master, but I'm fine. I'll make up for it when my spiritual sense is missing. Although the dry old man didn't believe it, he could only sigh when he saw that Yun Chujo was really fine. This guy was a pervert. How could he be fine like this? However, the dry old man also extinguished the thought of developing this kind of puppet. He didn't have such a perverted spiritual sense. He was actually fine even though he was forcefully isolated. Yun Chujo took out a 10,000-year-old mysterious iron chain and gave it to the dry old man. Master, this is a good thing that I got in the Academy's forbidden area. I didn't give it to you when you were in seclusion. The old man naturally knew what it was. He was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. This was a good thing. Master, it is said that this 10,000-year-old black iron chain is extremely powerful. How can I refine it? Yun Chujo asked curiously. Ordinary earth fire and fire marrow are not enough. Only 10,000-year-old fire marrow can do it. However, 10,000-year-old fire marrow can be encountered but not sought. However, this 10,000-year-old black iron chain can still be placed on other spirit tools. For example, a handle can be used as a whip. It is not a bad idea. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. This idea was not bad. She still had 3 10,000-year-old profound iron chains. If it really did not work when she met the enemy again, she would just use it as a whip. The opponent's spirit tool would definitely not be able to withstand the 10,000-year-old profound iron chain. It might even be destroyed. Right, if only she could find the 10,000-year-old fire marrow. When that time came, she could release the Meng Yanshou. With that great killing tool, who would she be afraid of? Ha ha ha. The dry old man saw Yun Chujo giggling foolishly and scolded jokingly. Little brat, what are you thinking about? Master, where is the 10,000-year-old fire marrow? Let's go and get some. Humph. You wish. Don't say that you don't know where it is. Even if there is, you will be roasted into ashes before you even get close to the fire marrow. Don't think about it anymore. Hurry up and cultivate. It's so embarrassing to be only at the 5th level of the spirit sect after such a long time. Yun Chujo didn't explain herself, because something suddenly came to her mind. She was so excited that she started dancing. Master, are you alright? If you're fine, then go back. It's getting late, I'm going to sleep. The dry old man raised his head and looked at the sun above his head. It was noon and it was getting late? Even if you were lying, could you be a little more sincere? However, the dry old man had just obtained a 10,000-year-old black iron chain, and he was in a good mood. He did not argue with her and left after scolding her with a smile. Yun Chujo, on the other hand, started to go through a lot of trouble. She rummaged through her storage ring and finally, she let the ball of wool choose among the great void mystic realm. Finally, she chose a piece of wood. 3 days later, Yun Chujo was sitting on a recliner in the courtyard. A man in white was kneeling on the ground, helping Yun Chujo massage her legs. Pretty boy, are you stupid? Why are you using so much strength to massage my legs? Are you trying to kill me? Pretty boy, have you not eaten? You're so weak, you're so stupid. How can there be such a stupid person like you in this world? Chapter 1338. The gigolo kneels. Yun Chujo gave the man in white a good thrashing. Then the man put his hands on his waist and laughed out loud. Gigolo, you have such a day. Humph. Kneel down, don't get up until the sun sets. The man in white obediently kneeled under the sun. His face was surprisingly beaming. The little black bird had no strength to complain. Master, although you have suffered a lot from the gigolo in the past, if you have the ability, go and settle the score with the gigolo. Is it really interesting for you to fool yourself with such a toy? Of course. Yun Chujo found it very interesting. Humph. I am going to rehearse this in advance. When I become the master in the future, I will torture the gigolo like this. It is not too late for a little girl to take revenge. Number 2, stop kneeling. Come here and let me kick you a few times. I will vent my anger. Thus, Yun Chujo kicked puppet number 2 a few times. Puppet number 2 was made from a tree trunk from the great void mystic realm. It was very flexible, so even though it was being tortured by Yun Chujo, it was still fine. From this day onwards, Yun Chujo started to torture number 2's life. This fellow felt that he finally had a place to vent his previous frustration. Xiao Hanyo could not stand it anymore. Master, although number 2 is a puppet, isn't it a little too much for you to torment him like this? Yun Chujo curled her lips. How am I too much? Isn't it just kicking him a few times for no reason, making him kneel and wash his clothes and basking in the sun for no reason? Xiao Hanyo looked at puppet number 2 who was kneeling on the ground and was speechless. Was he basking in the sun? There was a pretty boy on the left side of his face and Di Beiyu on the right side. It looked like he was being tortured. Yun Chujo was bickering with Xiao Hanyo when Di Beiming suddenly appeared in front of Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo was stunned. Then she closed her eyes and mumbled, "An illusion. An illusion. This must be an illusion. How can a pretty boy appear here? I must be having an illusion because there's something wrong with me." Xiao Hanyo's voice came from her divine sense. Master, it's really the gigolo. Yun Chujo still did not dare to open her eyes, but her eyelids kept twitching. This guy knew that he was going to die. Di Beiming sneered. Xiaojiu, I thought you helped me beat my legs and pour tea from the bottom of your heart. I didn't expect you to think that I was torturing you. Huh? Kicking you a few times? Washing clothes on your knees? Pretty boy. Di Beiyu? Huh? Yun Chujo could only force herself to open her eyes. Aya. My dear Prince Charming, my dear brother Beiming, you're here? I've missed you so much. Come, give me a kiss first. Xiao Hanyo couldn't bear to look at her anymore. It had been a long time since he saw his master being so obsequious. Master, this is all your own doing. You should seek your own fortune. Di Beiming turned his body to the side to avoid Yun Chuji's kiss. He snorted coldly and said, Don't give me that. Can you explain to me what the hell is that thing kneeling on the ground? Di Beiming was so angry that he was about to explode. Yun Chuji's birthday was almost over. After he greeted Dean Huangfu, he activated the concealment talisman to give Yun Chujo a surprise. Who would have thought that he would see a thing that looked exactly like him being tortured by Yun Chujo? When she saw the words written on the face of the thing, she could not stand it anymore and revealed her figure. Yun Chujio was in the wrong. She could only smile and say, "My Prince Charming, isn't this just to entertain yourself? If you don't vent your anger, I will make a puppet that looks exactly like me and give it to you tomorrow. You can do whatever you want. Even if you make it kneel every day, I will not be angry." Chapter 1339. A longtime wife becomes a mother-in-law. Di Biming snorted coldly. "I'm not as boring as you. You don't cultivate properly for a day, and you only know how to mess around. If you do this, when will you be able to enter the top 100 of the prodigy roll?" "Hey, Prince Charming, are you in a hurry to marry me?" "Don't worry, I'll definitely cultivate properly. Isn't this a bottleneck? That's why I created this little thing. Although I have some small thoughts to vent my anger, doesn't it also indirectly mean that I miss you? I created this thing to relieve the pain of lovesickness," Yun Chujio said with a face full of admiration. Xiao Hanio's admiration for its black-hearted master was like a torrential river. It really knew how to speak. This time the gigolo would definitely not let it go. As expected, when Di Biming heard Yun Chujio's heartfelt words, his anger dissipated a lot. He snorted coldly. "This is the only time. It won't happen again. Destroy this damn thing immediately. It actually looks exactly like me. This is outrageous." Although Yun Chujio's heart ached, in order to not be cleaned up, she could only take out the puppet plate from puppet number 2 and let Xiao Hanio burn it into ashes. Only then did Di Biming remember to ask, "What is this? Is it a puppet? Is there such a puppet?" Yun Chujio was immediately energized. She took out puppet number 1 and showed off. "You are too bold. What if something really happens?" After listening to Yun Chujio's explanation of the production process, Di Biming was so angry that he slammed the stone table. The stone table shattered. Yun Chujio was so scared that she shrunk her neck. However, she knew that Di Biming was thinking of her. Otherwise, he would not be so angry. Even puppet number 2 did not make him so angry. "Prince Charming, I know what to do. Didn't I absorb the remnant soul of the nine-tailed fox last time? I was thinking that this divine sense can be increased, but it can also be reduced. When I separate it, I tried it bit by bit until there were no problems. Only then did I completely separate. Don't be angry. I won't mess around next time." Yun Chujio was like a bullied wife, she said carefully. Di Biming was still angry and ignored her. Yun Chujio eagerly took out a stone table from her storage ring. Then she massaged her shoulders, poured tea, and hammered her legs. She was very attentive. Xiao Hanio covered his mouth with his wings and almost laughed out loud. This was karma. Just a moment ago, he had ordered puppet number 2 to be taken care of, but now the evil master had done it all. "Prince Charming, why are you here? Are you thinking that I don't want it anymore?" Di Biming's anger had almost subsided. This time he did not rebuke Yun Chujio. He took out a box from his storage ring and said, "This is my parents' birthday gift to you." Yun Chujio's eyes lit up. She opened the box and saw a beautiful jade hairpin and a jade token inside. Obviously, the jade hairpin was given by the palace master's wife, and the jade token was given by Di Linhan. Yun Chujio almost wanted to cry. Fuck, a longtime wife turned into a mother-in-law. The pretty boy's shameless parents had finally been taken down by her. "Prince Charming, then what gift did you give me?" Yun Chujio asked sneakily. Di Biming snorted coldly. "I didn't punish you just now because I gave you a gift. Prince Charming, actually you being able to come is the best gift you can give me. You don't even know that I miss you day and night. Even in my dreams it's you." Yun Chujio spouted nonsense shamelessly. Chapter 1340. What about cheat? Although Di Biming knew that Yun Chujio was trying to please him, he still felt very comfortable when he heard Yun Chujio's words. The corners of his mouth could not help but curl up. After Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of it, she was very pleased. The gigolo was the same as the old witch. They both had the character of a tortoise. She had the best experience in dealing with such people. She would just have to smooth things over. "Prince Charming, how long can you stay with me this time? I really want to be with you all the time. You can stay with me for a few more days." Yun Chujio decided to continue her efforts. No matter what, she had to get the gift. Di Biming said with a little disappointment, I am naturally willing to stay with you for a few more days. However, there are many people with high spiritual power in the Tianyuan Institute. If I stay for a long time, I am afraid that I will be discovered by others. When that time comes, it will not be good. Prince Charming, why didn't you come back in the name of returning to the school like last year? Di Baiming snorted with disdain. It was only the idea of that idiot Xue Wuji. It's fine if it's just once, but if it's used again, someone will definitely suspect it. Oh right, Prince Charming. Why hasn't there been any news about Brother Wuji recently? Di Baiming smiled meaningfully. I heard that the sect master of the Blood Devil sect is forcing Xue Wuji to get married. I guess he can't take care of himself anymore. What? Brother Wuji is getting married? Yun Chujio, who was sitting on the chair, suddenly stood up. Di Baiming's face immediately darkened. Xue Wuji is getting married. Why are you so excited? Do you have any other thoughts? The sour tone in Di Baiming's words could even be felt by the little black bird on the tree. Yun Chuzhou naturally knew that Xiao Hanyo had misunderstood again, hence, she explained, of course I don't have any thoughts, but I still want to leave Brother Wuji to Chi-Chi. If he marries, what will happen to Chi-Chi? The corner of Di Baiming's eyes twitched violently. That Yun Chi was still in the modern era. Yet you want to leave her? If she could not go to the Tianyuan continent for the rest of her life, could it be that Xue Wuji could not get married for the rest of his life? Yun Chuzhou also felt that her idea was not very realistic. She said embarrassedly, I always feel that I will see Chi-Chi again. However, since Brother Wuji is going to get married, I will introduce someone else to Chi-Chi then. Actually, Brother Mermaid is not bad, but I don't know where he is locked up. Oh right, Prince Charming. There is a new student in our class. Besides the color of his eyes, he looks exactly like Brother Mermaid. Unfortunately, I tried to test him a few times, but there was no response. I think it's just a coincidence. Yun Chuzhou sighed. Di Baiming raised his eyebrows. He looks the same as that mermaid? What's his background? Why did he suddenly come to your class? I heard that he did well in the entrance exam and skipped a grade. He seems to be some young master of the Lan family in the far north. He's like an invisible person every day. Although he's my desk mate, we haven't talked much. Yun Chuzhou said nonchalantly. Di Baiming's heart skipped a beat. He felt that things were not that simple. Since his grades were good and he skipped a grade, why didn't he enter the heavenly class? Why did he choose the yellow class instead? Why did he specially become Little Nine's desk mate? Damn it, Little Nine's desk mate could only be the main body. Who was he? The Lan family in the far north could be said to be able to summon wind and rain in the far north. Why did they travel hundreds of thousands of miles to come to Tianyuan Academy to study? And they just happened to enter Little Nine's class and become Little Nine's desk mate. Chapter 1341. Di Baiming's gift. Although Di Baiming's heart was in turmoil, he said calmly, Little Jiu, although the Yin family has been very quiet recently, it's inevitable that they will take action again. Moreover, the Netherworld Hall might attack again, not to mention that the Divine Devil Hall is still waiting in the dark for an opportunity to strike. So, you have to remain vigilant and not trust others easily. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes and immediately understood Di Baiming's meaning. She nodded and said, although Lan Luochen looks similar to Big Brother Mermaid, to me, he is just a classmate. Moreover, he is not as close to the other students in the Huang class. Di Baiming was very satisfied with Yun Chuzhi's attitude. As for Lan Luochen, he would naturally send his underlings to gather information. If there was nothing unusual, it would be fine. But if he found out that something was wrong, even if it was a faction in the northernmost region, he would get rid of it as well. Yun Chuzhou saw that Di Baiming did not mention the birthday present. She rolled her eyes and said, Prince Charming, I didn't expect Aunt and Uncle to give me a birthday present. They are so good to me. I am so touched. Di Baiming felt funny in his heart. He naturally understood that Yun Chuzhou was beating around the bush to test the present he gave her. He nodded lightly. Seeing that Di Baiming did not take the bait, Yun Chuzhou continued, sigh, Brother Wuji is forced to get married. I don't think he will come to give me a birthday present. It seems that I can only get these 2 birthday presents for my birthday this year. Di Baiming hummed in agreement again. Yun Chuzhou cursed in her heart. Humph, what the hell? You gigolo, you clearly know what I want to ask but you just won't say it. I'm so angry. While Yoon Chujio was fuming with anger, Lee Biming took out a box and gave it to Yoon Chujio. Your birthday present. Yoon Chujio immediately smiled like a flower. My Prince Charming, you are too polite. I knew my Prince Charming would definitely give me a birthday present. Yoon Chujio couldn't wait to open the small box. Inside was a purple jade pendant with a strange fish on the back. It proved that there was an D character. Yoon Chujio asked curiously, My Prince Charming, what is this jade pendant for? You can take this jade pendant to the Temple of Immortals for free. Are you satisfied with it? If not, I can change it to another gift for you. Yes, I'm very satisfied. Yoon Chujio quickly put the jade pendant into her storage ring. What a joke. She would be a fool if she did not like it. With this jade pendant, did she have anything she wanted? Another day, she would go to the Temple of Immortal shop to plunder. Lee Biming had originally planned to stay for a little longer, but unfortunately, Yoon Chujio's identity jade pendant started to tremble, and she requested that all students above the second grade immediately gather at the Tianyuan Square. Seeing this, Lee Biming had no choice but to flirt with Yoon Chujio for a while, then activate the concealment talisman and leave. After Yoon Chujio arrived at the Tianyuan Square, she realized that other than the new students, all the students had arrived. Did something happen? Very quickly, Yoon Chujio found out the answer. It turned out that the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm had appeared. The time when the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm appeared is not fixed. It has been thousands of years since it last appeared. Today, it actually appeared in the Tianyuan Academy again. I have to say that you guys are lucky. Such an opportunity is not something that every batch of students can catch up to. You guys must seize the opportunity. Chapter 1342. The strange little fish. Dean Huangfu continued. There are many demonic beasts and spiritual herbs in the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm that are only available in the ancient times. Therefore, this trial will not only increase your spiritual power, but you will also reap a bountiful harvest. Of course, the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm is also very dangerous. If you encounter danger, you can activate your identity jade tokens. At that time, you will be teleported out. Don't be greedy and lose your lives. The trial period is 1 month. At the end of 1 month, you will be teleported out without activating your identity jade tokens. After Dean Huangfu gave a simple speech, everyone went to the so-called Great Wilderness Mystic Realm according to the class order. The place where the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm appeared was not far from the place where Yoon Chujio found the nine-tailed fox was trapped. The entrance was suspended in mid-air. Before entering, everyone could feel an ancient and desolate aura. The students were very excited. They had actually encountered such a once-in-1,000 years opportunity. They were really lucky. It was said that the spiritual energy in the Grand Desolate Realm was much denser than outside. Even if they cultivated inside, it would still be very good. Moreover, there might even be some opportunities. If they could pick up some extinct high-grade spirit herbs, then they would make a huge profit. If they were lucky enough to catch an ancient exotic beast as a spiritual pet, it would be a huge advantage. Yoon Chujio was not very happy because this guy felt that if it was not for the appearance of the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm, the gigolo would not have left. It was all because of this damn Great Wilderness Mystic Realm. He did not come out early or late, but he had to come out at this time. How annoying! After everyone had entered, Yoon Chujio casually jumped in as well. This time there was nothing unusual. Either the Great Wilderness Mystic Realm did not have a Qi-Ling, or the Qi-Ling was a sensible person. After the white light flashed, Yoon Chujio realized that the scene in front of her was a beauty she had never seen before. In the midst of the clouds and mist, there were strange flowers and plants. There were even pools of water that were emitting steam. It was actually a hot spring. Yoon Chujio walked to the side of the hot spring curiously. There were strange little fish swimming around inside, looking exceptionally cute. The little fish was bright red all over, but there was a golden pattern on the belly of the fish. What was even more peculiar was that there were 2 claws on its belly, which were paddling around in the water. Yoon Chujio got playful and took out a piece of demon beast meat. She was ready to throw it into the water to play with the fish, But she didn't expect the fish to jump out of the water as soon as she took out the demon beast meat. She opened her mouth, revealing the sharp teeth inside, and went straight for the demon beast meat in Yoon Chujio's hand. Yoon Chujio was shocked and quickly let go. After the demon beast meat fell into the water, it was completely eaten by the fish in just a few seconds. Yoon Chujio could not help but feel a chill on her back. These small fish looked harmless, but she did not expect them to be so ferocious. They must have jumped up when they smelled the blood of the demon beast meat. It was better for her to leave as soon as possible. Just as Yoon Chujio was about to leave, the ground began to shake. Yoon Chujio quickly hid behind a bush. A huge demon beast walked over. Yoon Chujio had seen this kind of demon beast in the ancient demon beast illustration in the library. It was a wild single-horned violent bull. It was an ancient demon beast of the 25th level, equivalent to the first level of the spiritual venerable realm of a human cultivator. The savage horned violent bull walked to the edge of the pond. It was probably going to drink water. Yoon Chujio couldn't help but wonder. Wasn't this savage horned violent bull afraid that the strange fish would bite off its tongue? What happened next shocked Yoon Chujio. Chapter 1343. I'm just a bystander. The wild one-horned bull roared at the water, then lowered its huge head, and the strange fish jumped onto the wild one-horned bull's body. Then it fixed itself on the wild one-horned bull's body with its claws. After the wild one-horned bull lowered its head and drank the water, it left slowly. The small fish didn't jump back into the water, but were taken away by the wild one-horned bull. Yoon Chujio was puzzled. What was the meaning of this? Did the fish not want to live anymore? Did they want to leave the water and become dried fish? Besides, what was the wild single-horned ox thinking? Was it not afraid that the strange fish would bite it to pieces? Yoon Chujio thought for a while and could not figure it out. She decided not to think about it anymore. She walked in the opposite direction of the wild single-horned ox. Yoon Chujio walked forward while picking spiritual herbs. Although some of the spiritual herbs were not high level, they were lost. Yoon Chujio dug them up and brought them into the Great Void mystic realm. As for the high-level ones, Yoon Chujio dug them up and stored them in her storage ring. After walking for about an hour, Yoon Chujio heard the mooing of the bull. Yoon Chujio was stunned. She deliberately chose the opposite direction. Could it be that she met another wild one-horned violent bull? Yoon Chujio did not dare to walk forward. She hid in the bushes again and carefully looked outside. Not far away, there were two wild one-horned wild bulls lying lazily on the ground. There were some red things on their bodies. They were the strange fish with long claws. The strange fish used their claws to continuously pull the long hair of the wild one-horned wild bull. From time to time they would eat something. Yoon Chujio suddenly realized that these strange fish were helping the wild one-horned wild bull get rid of the small bugs on its body. Such things were not rare. Crocodiles had toothpick birds, rhinoceroses had rhinoceroses and birds. They were all mutually beneficial. It seemed that these fish and the wild one-horned wild bull also had this kind of relationship. They would probably get rid of the bugs in a while. The wild one-horned wild bull would send these strange fish back into the pool. Sure enough, after a while, the strange fish gathered on the body of a wild one-horned wild bull. The wild one-horned wild bull got up and walked towards the pool. Yoon Chujio did not intend to provoke the remaining wild one-horned bull, so she carefully prepared to take a detour. However, she did not expect that she accidentally broke a tree branch. The wild one-horned bull immediately rushed towards the bushes. Yoon Chujio ran away and shouted while running, "I'm just passing by. I'm just a bystander. Don't chase me. Aren't all your bulls vegetarian? I'm meat. My body is full of meat." The wild single-horned bull was confused when it heard that. It started mooing, and the same mooing came from afar. Obviously, the other wild single-horned bull heard its companion's voice and responded, "Fuck. The wild single-horned bull wouldn't come back, right? If it came back, it would be even worse." She had to get rid of this one quickly, or else she wouldn't be able to deal with two of them. Thinking of this, Yoon Chujio stopped in her tracks. "Old bull, I'm warning you. Leave now and well pretend that we've never met. If you continue to chase after me, don't blame me for being impolite." The wild one-horned bull barked in disdain and then rushed towards Yoon Chujio, drooling. Yun Chujo had now confirmed one thing. It really ate meat. Chapter 1344 The stubborn bull Yun Chujo jumped more than 100 feet away and dodged the attack of the wild, single-horned bull. She sneered and said, "Old bull, I'm giving you one last chance. If you still persist, don't blame me for killing the bull." The wild, single-horned bull completely ignored Yun Chujo and rushed towards Yun Chujo again. Yun Chujo raised her eyebrows. "Since you're looking for death, don't blame me. I'll turn you into minced beef." Yun Chujo took out a burst talisman and threw it at the wild ox. Then, Yun Chujo realized that the burst talismans didn't react at all. Damn it! Couldn't talismans be used here? She had prepared hundreds of sacks. Why did no one mention that talismans could not be used here? It really killed her. Actually, her teacher had mentioned it, but this fellow was full of resentment about Biming leaving and did not pay attention to it at that time. Hence this fellow was in deep trouble. Initially, she thought that she could use the super great explosive talismans to blow up this barbaric ox. But now the talismans could not be used, and she could only use her spirit energy to attack. Yun Chujo recalled the heroic performance of the spiritual power piglet in the Temple of Immortals, and she felt a little more confident. She then released a cute spiritual power piglet towards the barbaric ox. When the barbaric ox saw the spiritual power piglet released by Yun Chujo, it was so shocked that it froze on the spot. What the hell was this thing? A pig? Didn't humans release wolves, tigers, and leopards? How could a human transform into a pig? Or a piglet? Was this a joke? Just as the savage one-horned bull was in a daze, the spiritual piglet had already rushed in front of it and bit down on its horn. Yun Chujo couldn't bear to look at it. "Emma, you're really a pig." The savage one-horned bull's horn was the strongest part of its body. You should bite its eyes, ears, and so on. As expected, the spiritual power piglet did not cause any damage to the horn of the savage one-horned ox. Instead, it was kicked away by the savage one-horned ox. Yun Chujo had no choice but to release another spiritual power piglet. She used her spiritual sense and said, "Attack its eyes and ears. Don't be stupid and attack that horn." The spiritual power piglet pounced on the savage one-horned ox. The savage one-horned ox directly stabbed at the spiritual power piglet with its horn. It thought to itself, "I will directly make you disappear. Then I'll bite that stinky girl to death in one go." Unexpectedly, when the spiritual energy piglet saw the wild one-horned violent bull charging over, it actually turned a corner and bit on the wild one-horned violent bull's ear. Yun Chujo took the opportunity to shoot out several small purple needles, all aimed at the weak parts of the wild one-horned violent bull. The wild one-horned violent bull was only focused on dealing with the spiritual energy piglet. It did not expect Yun Chujo to launch another attack. When it found out, it was a little confused. The stinky girl had already released a pig. How could she still use spiritual power to attack? Wasn't this a high-level spiritual power materialization technique? If it wasn't a high-level spiritual power materialization technique, how could this damn piglet know how to turn around? Right, wasn't this stinky girl at the 5th level of the spirit sect? How could she know the intermediate level materialization technique, let alone a high-level materialization technique? But where did this little piggy come from? The wild one-horned bull was obviously a little stubborn. You should have avoided the little purple needle first. You can think about these stupid questions later. No, he just sat there thinking about these questions. Chapter 1345 The piglet that bit the ox's tail. By the time the wild ox finally realized that they were in a fight, Yun Chujo's purple needles had arrived. Several purple needles shot into its eyes. Along with the cracking sound, the wild ox screamed and rolled on the ground. Yun Chujo threw several purple needles at the wild ox. After a few cracking sounds, the wild ox finally died. Before Yun Chujo could escape, another wild one-horned ox, which was full of strange small fish, ran back and rushed towards Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo hurriedly jumped to dodge. Unexpectedly, the strange small fish on the wild one-horned ox actually jumped towards Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo quickly activated her defensive spirit tool. "Damn it, I don't have any bugs on me for you to eat." What shocked Yun Chujo was that the strange little fish's claws were like suckers that were attached to the defensive barrier. Then their sharp teeth began to gnaw on the defensive barrier. The defensive barrier actually started to be destroyed quickly. The teeth of these strange little fish were simply too terrifying. At the same time, the wild single-horned bull also rushed towards Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo had no choice but to release her spirit energy piglet again. The cute spirit piglet went straight for the wild single-horned bull's ear and bit it. This wild single-horned bull was also stunned when it saw the spirit piglet, but it was obviously smarter than the other one. It directly used its horn to stab the spirit piglet. After the spirit piglet dodged, it once again bit the wild single-horned bull. Yun Chujo felt that this was not good. The spirit piglet's spirit energy was limited. It would dissipate after a few rounds. It would be great if there were a few spirit piglets. Yun Chujo could not help but curse herself for being a pig when she thought of this. She was using an intermediate-level spiritual power materialization technique, not a high-level spiritual power materialization technique. She could definitely release a lot of spiritual power little piglets. How could she have missed this point? Yun Chujo waved her hands left and right repeatedly. As a result, more than 10 spiritual power little piglets pounced on the wild one-horned violent bull, and the strange little fish on the defensive barrier. The savage horned bull was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Could it be that the little girl was using an intermediate-level physical transformation technique? How was this possible? How could an intermediate-level physical transformation technique create something that was so agile? This savage horned bull was obviously as stubborn as the previous one. And at the critical moment, 5 spiritual piglets pounced on it. Some bit its ears, some bit its nose, some bit its neck, and some even bit its tail. Yun Chujo was so angry that she laughed. It was understandable that it bit other places, but that little piglet that bit its tail, come, let me ask you, I promise I won't beat you to death. What do you mean by biting the tail of the ox? Yun Chujo looked at the few little piglets of spiritual power on the spiritual power shield again. These few were much more reliable, and directly swallowed the strange little fish. Although they didn't kill it, at least they got the strange little fish to the ground. Yun Chujo raised the rolling pin and smashed it flat. After dealing with the strange little fish, Yun Chujo shot a few purple needles at the wild single-horned wild bull. The wild single-horned wild bull was badly bitten by a few spiritual piglets, so it was a little slow to dodge. A few purple needles shot into its eyes and nostrils. Along with the cracking sound, the wild single-horned wild bull struggled a few times on the ground and died. Yun Chujo put the 2 wild one-horned bulls into her storage ring and said delightedly, I have something for dinner tonight. It's time to rinse the beef. Chapter 1346. The miserable Xiaohenio. That night, Yun Chujo found a cave to shelter from the wind. She lit up the alchemy furnace on the bonfire and started to cook beef. She had a great time eating. This is really pure green food. The meat is delicious and tastes great. The 3 Xiaohenio squatted by the side and ate the roasted meat with resentment. It was not that Yun Chujo was stingy, but the 3 of them could not use chopsticks. They could not reach into the pot with their claws, so they could only watch Yun Chujo eat. Xiaohenio cursed in her heart. The only ones who could treat the trial as a field trip were probably us, the black-hearted masters. Yun Chujo was full and had the 3 little ones take turns to be on guard while she slept soundly. The night was very peaceful. Yun Chujo slept until dawn. She felt that she had most likely encountered a fake mystic realm this time. How could it be so peaceful? It was really strange. After breakfast, Yun Chujo continued to walk forward. In the middle, she also encountered some low-level demon beasts. Some thought that Yun Chujo was at the 5th level of the spirit sect, so they came up to provoke her. They were all killed by Yun Chujo and used as reserves. Yun Chujo would occasionally let Xiaohei's 3-tailed and half-tailed little red fox practice. Only the little black bird would lie on Yun Chujo's shoulder and cheer her on, because this wild mystic realm also forbade flying. Xiaohei, it's not that I dislike you, master. Don't you have to learn some other skills? At least you have to learn from me, master. You can run faster with 2 legs. Otherwise, in the future you can only watch and do nothing. Aren't you lonely? Thus, Xiao Hanyo began the miserable training process. It was often chased by demon beasts from behind. It would fall and crawl. Alright, this fellow had already used 2 wings as its front legs. Needless to say, after Yunchujia's patience training, Xiao Hanyo had forcefully learned to use her 2 wings and 2 legs to run. When there were low-level demonic beasts, Xiao Hanyo could also rush up and join the battle. Those demonic beasts were all dumbfounded. What the hell was this black thing? Could it be that its wings were drooping and it had broken bones? Was it a flame-spitting crow with broken wings? On this day, Yunchujio was still walking forward while picking spiritual herbs. After hearing the sound of running water, she curiously walked forward for a few miles. Then she found that there was a wide river in front of her. A gentle breeze blew, creating ripples. It was a pleasant sight to see. Yunchujio did not dare to get too close. There must be aquatic beasts in such a wide river. It was better to be careful. Yunchujio took out a stone and threw it over. Strangely, there was no reaction in the river. Yunchujio threw a few more stones, but there was still no reaction. Yunchujio then carefully walked to the shore and looked into the water. The water was so clear that the bottom could be seen clearly. Even the sand below could be seen clearly, but there was not even a single aquatic plant, let alone aquatic demonic beasts. This was strange. How could such clear water be so lifeless? Could it be that there was poison in the water? Yunchujio decided to stay behind to observe. Hence, she jumped onto a big tree by the bank and prepared to see if there were any demon beasts coming over to drink water, or if there were aquatic demon beasts appearing in the river. After a full half a day, not a single demon beast came over to drink water. The river was even quieter and weirder. Other than the ripples caused by the wind, there was nothing else. Yunchujio took out a golden armored turtle from the great void mystic realm and threw it into the river. The golden armored turtle fluttered a few times in the water before it disappeared. Yunchujio rubbed her eyes. Where was the golden armored turtle? Where did it go? Chapter 1347. The width of a large river. Yunchujio took out another golden armored turtle from the great void mystic realm and threw it into the river. Then the golden armored turtle disappeared again. Yunchujio touched her chin. Was there a teleportation formation under the river? Could it be that the golden armored turtle had been teleported to another place? In order to take a closer look, Yunchujio got Mao Mao Chio to get a giant iron armored turtle and threw it into the river. The giant iron-skinned turtle also disappeared. However, this time Yunchujio found a clue. The giant iron-skinned turtle was not transported to another place, but melted by the river. To be precise, it was corroded by the river water. Oh my god, this was even more powerful than the most poisonous poison. Yunchujio was not afraid, but rather excited. She had to decorate the river water more. With this thing, if anyone dared to go against her, she would make it disappear. It was better than any poison. But this fellow was in a difficult situation. How could she use it to disguise herself? Besides, how could she disguise herself? She might even hurt herself. Just as Yunchujio was worrying about what container to use to store the water, the Guaichao in her dantian was clamoring for Yunchujio to drink the river water. Yunchujio was so angry that she almost passed out. Go away, ba. If you don't beat up the house for 3 days, are you asking for a scolding again? You want me to drink this river water, even the bastard shell has been corroded. You want me to drink it, even if you want to commit suicide. Don't drag me along, damn it. If you are willing to drink it, come out from my dantian. I promise to let you drink it until the end of time. Guaichao kept asking for water, so Yunchujio simply ignored it. She touched her chin and wanted to use some container to fill the poisonous water back. Unexpectedly, Guaichao really wanted to drink the river water, so it took control of Yunchujio's body again and went straight to the river bank. Yunchujio could only stare and not use her strength. She could only see herself lying on the bank like a little bastard and drinking water. The first thought that flashed through Yunchujio's mind was not to strangle Guaichao, but to find a container to hold the poisonous water. She was. Yunchujio realized later that her face had not been corroded by the river water. She recalled that when she was in the Great Void Mystic Realm, the Guaichao had also taken control of her body and drank a pool of water. However, that was a small pool of water. This was a fucking big river. Yun Chujo inexplicably thought of a song in her mind. A big river with wide waves, the wind blowing on both sides of the river. Oh. Cough cough. After her brain returned to normal, her first thought was, could it be that she had gone through all kinds of difficulties and in the end she was stuffed to death? No, she wanted to regain control of her body. Go away, ba. You heartless person. Who fed you? Who fed you? Who fed you? It's me or me. You turned your back on me and refused to acknowledge me. Do you still have a grass face? Tell me, how hard did you make me suffer? When I was young, my face was as black as a charcoal ball. When I was older, it affected my ability to bear monkeys. Now it's going to flatten me to death. Tell me, are you still a human? No, if you don't come, then you're not a human. Tell me, are you still a grass-faced man? Go away, ba, I'm warning you. Stop right now, or I'll take back control of my body. I'll cut open your stomach. After I get you out, I'll burn you with fire. I'll chop you with a knife. I'll fry you with oil. I'll make sure you die without a complete grass. Unfortunately, no matter how Yun Chujo cursed, Guai Chao had a goal, and that was to drink water. Yun Chujo was also puzzled. She had been drinking for an hour, but why wasn't she stuffed to death? Could this river water be fake? Chapter 1348. Xiaozhou Yun Chujo gradually realized the problem. To be precise, she was not drinking water, but absorbing something in the river water. Could it be that Go Weiba was absorbing the poison in the river water? Sigh, she did not know what the hell Go Weiba was. It liked poison so much that it could not even move its legs when it saw the poison. Seeing that she wasn't in danger of bursting to death, Yun Chujo wasn't so angry anymore. She simply closed her eyes and went to sleep. After all, no demon beast dared to come to this riverside. After the big-hearted guy woke up, he found that he was still absorbing the poison like a little bastard, so he simply fell asleep again. When Yun Chujo woke up again, it was already the morning of the next day. Go Weiba, are you done yet? You've been drinking for the whole night and you still haven't finished? Yun Chujo said angrily. As soon as Yun Chujo finished her sentence, she gained control of her body. However, how could her body not be stiff after staying in the same position for the whole night? Yun Chujo fell into the river. Fortunately, the water by the river was not very deep, so she did not drown tragically. Yun Chujo was so angry that she cursed the Guai 108 times. The Guai Chao was now very satisfied and could scold it however it wanted. Anyway, it had achieved its goal and frequently used its leaves to form a heart shape to act cute. Unfortunately, in Yun Chuji's eyes, this was a black-hearted grass. No matter how cute it was still a black-hearted grass. Yun Chujo climbed onto the bank and used her spiritual power to dry her clothes. After that, she had an idea. She did not know if the poison had been completely absorbed by the Guai Chao. Therefore, she asked Mao Chou to take out another golden-armored turtle and put it into the river. An hour passed, and the golden-armored turtle was still fine. It seemed that the poison in the river had been completely absorbed by Guai Chao. Yun Chujo decided to do a good deed to the end. She asked Mao Chou to take out a lot of watergrass seeds and sprinkle them in the river water. Then she took out some small fish, shrimp, and aquatic demon beasts and put them into the river water. Suddenly, the entire river was full of life. Yun Chujo looked at her masterpiece proudly and said proudly, I gave this river a new life. From now on, this river should be called Little Joha. Well, this guy had completely forgotten how reluctant she was before. This guy took out a big stone from his storage ring and used a hammer to chisel out the 3 words, Little Joha. Then he painted it with cinnabar. The stone tablet was considered a success. Yun Chujo set up the stone tablet and looked at it with satisfaction. Just as she was about to give another long speech, her stomach started growling. She remembered that she hadn't eaten yet, so she took out a meat bun and started eating. After eating and drinking, Yun Chujo decided to go to the other side of the river to take a look. The poisonous river had divided the area, so there might be many high-level spirit herbs there. Yun Chujo jumped into the river and swam to the other side. The river was very wide. When Yun Chujo was halfway there, A huge suction force suddenly came from the bottom of the river. Yun Chujo tried her best to struggle but to no avail, and her vision fell into darkness. Before Yun Chujo fainted, she only thought of one sentence. People die for money, birds die for food. When Yun Chujo regained consciousness again, she found that she was tightly tied up, and her spiritual power was also restricted. She was even locked in a damn cage. Yun Chujo looked around and realized that she seemed to be in a palace. The decorative patterns on the walls and the stone slabs on the ground gave off an ancient aura. She estimated that this palace had existed for a long time, but which bastard had captured me? Chapter 1349. The bitch uses a sword. Yun Chujo shouted at the top of her voice. Is anyone there? Why are you locking me up? If you are breathing, hurry up and come out. Otherwise, I will say something unpleasant. If I scold someone, even the old bastard Tian Dao will be afraid. Bitch, shut up. How dare you insult Tian Dao? You are really audacious. Yun Chujo looked at the thing that came in and laughed so hard that tears were about to come out. Please, I want to ask, are you a white steamed bun that has become a spirit? That white steamed bun was so angry that he could not contain his anger. Stupid girl. I think you don't want to live anymore. Which eye of yours sees me as a white steamed bun? You are the white steamed bun. Your whole family is a white steamed bun. Yun Chujo held back her laughter and said, You still don't want to admit it? Look at you. You are round and full of white hair. You are a living white steamed bun that has turned into a spirit. The white steamed bun was so angry that it almost turned into a red steamed bun. It was the first time it had encountered such an arrogant captive. Could you be a little more aware of being a captive? Stupid girl. Do you know who I am? How dare you offend me? Aren't you afraid that I will kill you? The white steamed bun said fiercely. However, its appearance was too comical, so no matter how one looked at it, it was not scary. How would I know who you are? I only know that if you don't let me go immediately, I will turn you into a white pancake. Yun Chujo said with her mouth curled. By Manta said through gritted teeth, You still dare to threaten me? You are now my prisoner. It is easy for me to kill you. Then just kill me. Why waste your breath? Come on, kill me. I think it's good to die here. This palace looks pretty good too. If I die here, I can be considered to have a gorgeous tomb. If there's nothing else, my ghost can still come out and play hide and seek with you. How good would that be? Yun Chujo said indifferently. You must be pretending to be calm. Darn girl, where did you put the poison in the river? Hurry up and hand it over or I'll kill you. Bai Manta somehow got a treasured sword from somewhere and gestured at Yun Chujo. Poison? Did you put the poison in the river? Bai Manta pointed at Yun Chujo with his sword and said angrily, That was the weak water that I got with great difficulty, but it was all destroyed by you. And you even fucking built a little Jioha? Are you shameless? Yun Chujo was also furious. You shameless Bai Mantu. You still pointed your sword at me? You really are a slut who uses a sword. You poisoned it and you still have reason? I helped that river regain its vitality, so what if I named it after me? What has it got to do with you? You are simply infuriating me to death. Don't you know that my palace is right under that river? If it wasn't protected by the weak water, my palace would have been attacked by aquatic demon beasts. What would I do then? Bai Manta said angrily. Yun Chujo curled her lips. If my guess is correct, you are the Qi-Ling of this great wilderness mystic realm, right? Bai Manta snorted arrogantly. That's right, so you have to hand over the weak water obediently. Bai Mantu, it's not that I want to criticize you, but as a Qi-Ling you actually use sinister methods to protect your palace. You are really shameless. Just because of your selfishness, you turned the entire river into poison. You're really wicked. No wonder you look like this. It's retribution. Bai Manta choked with anger and actually fainted on the ground. Yun Chujo touched her nose. She fainted just like that? Wasn't her mental endurance too weak? Chapter 1350 White Bread. Just as Yun Chujo was complaining, Bai Manta woke up. He picked up his sword and rushed towards Yun Chujo. Stupid girl, I'm going to kill you. If you don't want that weak water, you can kill me. I don't care, Yun Chujo said lightly. Baimanta heard weak water and stopped in his tracks. Stupid girl, give me weak water immediately and I'll let you go. Pretend this never happened. Yun Chujo thought to herself, I want to return it to you, but that damn Go Weiba won't spit out Ruoshui again. However, in order to escape, she still had to deal with this Baimantu. Baimantu, I can hand over Ruoshui to you, but before that I have a question. Tell me, are you stupid to the core? Why did you build the palace under the river? It's fine if you built it under the river, but don't you know how to set up some powerful array formation to protect the palace? Besides, as a Qiling, are you afraid of those aquatic demon beasts? Aren't you a little too useless? Yun Chujo said disdainfully. What do you know? I'm not afraid of them. I just like peace and quiet, and besides, since they're such a good barrier, why do I need to waste my energy to deal with them? Cut the crap and hand over Ruoshui quickly, or I'll kill you. If you let me go, I'll hand Ruoshui over to you. Otherwise, you won't be able to get Ruoshui. Yun Chujo said lightly. No. Hand over Ruoshui first, then I'll let you go. Otherwise, what if you lie to me? The white steamed bun rolled its eyes. Trying to lie to me? No way. Yun Chujo glanced at it. I can swear on my inner demon oath. Heaven above, if Baimanta lets me go. If I don't hand over Ruoshui to Baimantu, I will be struck by heavenly lightning for 10 hours without rest. Is this all right? Baimanta thought to itself with the inner demon oath. It was not afraid that the brat would go back on her words. It was fine to let her go. Therefore, Baimanta opened the cage and removed the rope from Yun Chujia's body. Yun Chujo realized that her spiritual power had recovered, and a cunning look appeared in her eyes. Baimantu, it's time for us to settle the score. Stupid girl, I've already let you go. You can leave Ruoshui to me. Leave it to you? Leave it to your big head. You damn Baimantu, how dare you tie me up with the rope and lock me in the cage? You even pointed your sword at me. I'll beat you to death. I'll turn you into a white pancake. Yun Chujo took out a rolling pin and smashed it at Baimantu. Baimantu did not expect Yun Chujo to smash it without saying a word. She was hit by the rolling pin and was instantly smashed into a white pancake. Stop! Stop! Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? Baimantu shouted in exasperation. Yun Chujo smashed the rolling pin down again. I'm sorry, I'm really not afraid of being struck by lightning. If you have the ability, let lightning strike me. Baimantu was so angry that he almost fainted. You're talking nonsense. How can you not be afraid of being struck by lightning? Believe it or not. Anyway, I'll kill you first. Yun Chujo smashed the rolling pin down again. Although Baimantu did not believe that Yun Chujo was really not afraid of being struck by lightning, in order to save her life, it shouted, Stop! Stop! If you don't stop, I'll trap all of you in this great wilderness mystic realm and sink into the void with me. Yun Chujo put away the rolling pin when she heard Baimantu. She was not afraid of the threat of Baimantu, but she was more interested in the so-called sinking into the void. Chapter 1351 Baimantu. What do you mean by sinking into the void? Yun Chujo asked in confusion. Baimantu thought that Yun Chujo was afraid, and his body swelled up into a white mantu again. He said proudly, sinking into the void means that you don't belong to any space-time, nor do you belong to any world. Do you know fear now? You want to fight with me? Hurry up and hand over Ruoshui. Otherwise, you'll never be able to get out. Hearing this, Yun Chujo finally dispelled the doubts in her heart. No wonder after some secret realms or divine artifacts disappeared, it was hard to find anyone. It turned out that they were not in the same world at all. Seeing that Yun Chujo was silent, Baimantu shouted arrogantly, Hey, stinky girl. Did you hear what my Qiling said? Hurry up and hand over Ruoshui or else. Yun Chujo once again smashed Baimantu into a white pancake with a rolling pin. Baimantu, I'll tell you the truth. You don't even have Ruoshui gate. Hurry up and send me out, or else I'll smash your palace into pieces. You don't have to think of trapping me in the grand desolate realm. Anyway, I know that your palace is at the bottom of the river. When the time comes, it'll bring some people to turn your palace into ruins. If you don't believe me, let's try it. Bai Mantu rolled its eyes in anger and actually fainted again. Yun Chujo poked Bai Mantu with a rolling pin. Seeing that it had really fainted, the fellow began to search the palace. Unfortunately, there was nothing in the palace except for the blue stone and the walls. Yun Chujo was so angry that she put the cage that locked her into her storage ring. She could not return empty-handed anyway. Just as Yun Chujo put the cage into her storage ring, Bai Mantu woke up. Bai Mantu had already confirmed one thing with extreme sadness. Roshui wouldn't be coming back. This stupid girl was too cunning. However, in my territory, wouldn't it be easy for me to take care of you? Let's wait and see. Therefore, Bai Mantu said helplessly, alright, since things have come to this, I won't make things difficult for you. I'll send you out now. Yun Chujo sneered in her heart. This Bai Mantu definitely had no good intentions. However, was he trying to trick her? At worst, she would activate her identity jade token and go out. Bai Mantu formed a hand seal with both of his hands, and Yun Chujo disappeared from where she was. Then when he turned around, he realized that the cage was gone. He was so angry that he stomped his feet. Shameless! Shameless! He actually stole my heaven imprisoning cage in front of me. It's really too detestable. But little girl, you will definitely die in this great wilderness mystic realm. When that time comes, everything on you will be mine. When Yun Chujo saw the scene in front of her, she knew what Bai Mantu was planning. So he wanted her to be eaten by the demon beast. TSK, how sinister. He was just short of sending her directly into the demon beast's mouth. Yun Chujo was currently in a cave. On the ground was the corpse of a wild unicorn bull, surrounded by 5 level 26 wild wolves. These 5 wild wolves were originally tearing up the beef on the ground. They did not expect that a human girl would appear out of nowhere while they were eating. They were also a little dumbfounded. Hence, the 5 wolves and Yun Chujo stared at each other and did not move for a moment. Yun Chujo stretched out her claws and waved them. Hey, are you eating? Continue eating, I'm leaving. I'll never see you again. After Yun Chujo said that, she jumped over the head of a wild wolf. Only then did the 5 wild wolves come to their senses and pounced on Yun Chujo while howling. Chapter 1352. A bunch of little pigs. Yun Chujo ran wildly, and the 5 wild wolves chased after her. It would be a great shame if the meat that was delivered to her ran away. Hey, don't you have food? Why are you chasing me? I don't have 2 tails of meat on me. Yun Chujo shouted as she ran. The 5 wild wolves did not care how much meat she had. Even if it was not for the appetite, they would eat this human girl for the sake of the wolf's dignity. The speed of the wild wolves was much faster than Yun Chujo's speed. They caught up very quickly. Yun Chujo could not help but complain. As expected, 2-legged ones could not run as fast as 4-legged ones. Yun Chujo was once again surrounded by the 5 wild wolves. Yun Chujo bared her little white teeth at them. Puppies, how about we make a deal? Just as Yun Chujo was about to deceive them, the 5 wild wolves rushed up. Fuck. They were indeed unevolved demonic beasts. They had no manners at all. Yun Chujo had no choice but to activate her defensive spirit tool and release several piglets of spiritual power to charge at the 5 wild wolves. The 5 wild wolves were actually scared silly for a moment. What was going on with this group of piglets? To be exact, what the hell were these piglets? Didn't they say that only one high-level physical transformation technique could be released? How could she release a bunch of them? Besides, wasn't she at the 5th level of the spirit sect? How could she know high-level materialized spell? However, the wild wolf was clearly not as stubborn as the wild ox. This thought only lasted for a moment before it joined the battle. Although the spiritual power piglets were smart, they would be scattered by the wild wolf's claws. Yun Chujo could only keep releasing the piglets, occasionally mixed with small purple needles. Even so, in less than 15 minutes, Yun Chujo was completely at a disadvantage. Moreover, the little piglets required more spiritual power than the small purple needles. Although Yun Chujo's spiritual power was very abnormal, there was a limit to it. If she continued to waste her spiritual power like this, she would be in deep trouble. Yun Chujo gritted her teeth. If she really couldn't do it, she could only activate her identity jade token. Nothing was more important than her life. Therefore, she took out her identity jade token, and then sadly found that the identity jade token had lost its effect. Damn! This must be the work of Bai Mantu. Yun Chujia's forehead was covered in sweat. She could still rely on her defensive spirit tool to support herself. However, she would eventually run out of it. What should she do? What should she do? The three little ones in the spirit beast bag took the initiative to ask for help. Yun Chujo quickly took out Xiao Hei, Xiao Hong, and Xiao Hanio. As for Xiao Hei, she would forget about it. When the time came, she would have to save it. Yun Chujo did not let the little black bird use the curse spell. It was a life-saving method, and she could not use it unless she had no other choice. With the help of the two little ones, Yun Chujo held on for a while. But soon the two little ones were injured, so Yun Chujo had to put them away. The 5 wild wolves were also very anxious. The little girl, who they thought was easy to deal with, had actually not been able to eat for more than an hour. It was a great humiliation. The 5 wild wolves intensified their attacks, continuously using their sharp claws and sharp teeth to attack Yun Chujia's defensive barrier. Yun Chujia's defensive spirit tool was constantly being shattered, causing Yun Chujia's heart to ache. Master, don't you have puppet number 1? Use puppet number 1 to try. Xiao Hanio said when she saw puppet number 1 in the spirit beast bag. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. Yes, how could I forget this good thing? Chapter 1353. The valiant puppet number 1. Yun Chujo quickly took out puppet number 1 and placed a few supreme-grade spirit stones before giving the order to kill these savage wolves. Puppet number 1 immediately rushed out of the defensive barrier and charged towards a savage wolf. That savage wolf was scared silly. What the hell was this? Obviously, it had never seen anything like a puppet before. When it saw puppet number 1 charging over, it could only use its claws to grab puppet number 1. It did not expect that puppet number 1 was refined iron. Its hoofs clawed at it, only a faint scratch was left. Puppet number 1 kicked the savage wolf's head. The savage wolf was also shocked for a moment. It did not dodge and was kicked directly by puppet number 1. It screamed and fainted. Number 1, hurry up and deal with the other wild wolves. Leave this one to me. Yun Chujo said excitedly. I am good at this kind of backstabbing. After puppet number 1 received the order, it rushed to the other 4 wild wolves. The 4 wild wolves were stunned and confused. This damn thing was too powerful? It defeated their companion in one move? The 4 wild wolves gave up on attacking Yun Chujo and started to attack puppet number 1. In fact, puppet number 1 was not that strong. It was just that the wild wolf from before was a little stunned, which was why puppet number 1 managed to kill it in one move. However, puppet number 1 had one advantage, and that was its strong resistance to attacks. It was made of refined iron, so the claws and teeth of the wild wolf could only deal limited damage to it. Yun Chujo could actually use this time to escape, but this fellow was unwilling to abandon puppet number 1. So after killing the savage wolf, it also joined the battle. This fellow was extremely regretful now. If she had known earlier, she would not have refined puppet number 2's gigolo. If she had refined puppet number 2 into the same as puppet number 1, wouldn't she have been much more relaxed now? Yun Chujo had decided that she would refine 180 puppets when she returned. At that time, whoever dared to provoke her, she would let the puppets torture them to death. Yes, that was what she would do. 2 hours later, Yun Chujo finally killed the remaining 4 wild wolves at a heavy price. She had lost more than half of her defensive spiritual artifacts, and puppet number 1's joints were also severely damaged by the wild wolves. Although puppet number 1's entire body was refined from fine iron, its joints were much weaker compared to other parts. If the damage was serious, it would affect its movement. After Yun Chujo put away the 5 wild wolves' corpses, she forced herself to leave, afraid that the smell of blood would attract other demon beasts. The white steamed bun in the underground palace was so angry that he gritted his teeth. How could he escape like this? This is fucking sick. Girl, you wait, this is only the beginning. I must let you die a complete corpse. Yun Chujo, forced to run a distance, leaned against a tree, began to pant. Emma, damn the white steamed bread. You want to kill her? No way. Before Yun Chujo could catch her breath, she saw two 26-level wildfire tigers rushing towards her. Yun Chujo almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Lai Yin, you are ruthless. We are not afraid of settling scores. Just you wait. Stop. I have something to say to you. Yun Chujo shouted. The two wildfire tigers were actually frightened by Lai Yan's shout. They stopped and stared at Yun Chujo with their huge eyes, wanting to hear what she had to say. Chapter 1354 deceived the two tigers. When Yun Chujo saw that the two wildfire tigers were really standing still, she let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that these two wildfire tigers were more curious than the 5 wolves from before. She had to think of a way to stall for time. Lai Yan had been waiting for a long time. Otherwise, with her current physical strength, there was no way for her to escape. Lord Tigers, I am definitely not your match. Let me live a little longer. I will tell you something strange. You will definitely be very interested in it. It is about the weapon spirit of this great wilderness mystic realm, Yun Chujo said mysteriously. Lai Yin were indeed very interested. They cried out twice and signaled Yun Chujo to continue. You must know that there is a very wide poisonous river in this great wilderness mystical realm, right? No matter what kind of animal falls into it, it will be corroded clean. TSK, it's really too scary. Lai Yin nodded. It was obvious that they knew about the poisonous river. My lords, to be honest, although my spiritual power is very weak, I am the kindest person. I think this poisonous river is too dangerous. If this river is not poisonous, my lords, can you go to the river to play? Can you get a few demon beasts in the water to quench your thirst? Lai Yin and Yun Chujo could not help but reveal yearning expressions. Although there were several other sources of water in this secret realm, none of them could compare to the river. It would be great if the river was not poisonous. Yun Chujo saw that the two wildfire tigers were fantasizing about a beautiful vision, so she decided not to continue talking. She quietly adjusted her breath and tried to recover some of her physical strength and spiritual power. The two wildfire tigers fantasized about a beautiful vision for a while. Seeing that Yun Chujo did not continue talking, they roared in displeasure. I saw that the poisonous river was so harmful to the beast. Out of righteous indignation, I decided to eliminate the beast. Coincidentally, I have a treasure that can absorb all the toxins, so I took out the treasure and absorbed all the toxins in the river. Now the river has become non-toxic. The two wildfire tigers roared angrily. Clearly, they thought that Yun Chujo was talking nonsense. Lai Yin was lying. Yun Chujo quickly said, Lord Tiger, how would I dare to lie to you? If you don't believe me, you can go and take a look. Moreover, Lord Tiger, this is a once-in-lifetime opportunity. Right now, in the great wilderness mystic realm, besides me and Qi Ling, only the two of you know this news. You can occupy an advantageous position on the side of the river. When that time comes, there will be countless demonic beasts coming to the river to drink. Are you still worried about the food problem? Two savage fierce tigers, some heart is moved. But this smelly wench can be in Lai Yin them? Yun Chujo saw the hesitation of the two wildfire tigers Lai Yin, so he said, Two tiger sirs, I am so weak, are you still afraid that I will run away? If I really can't, I will go with you. If I lie to you, you will eat me. The two wildfire tigers roared at each other. It was obvious that they were discussing. Lai Yin and Yun Chujo looked at each other. The river was obviously very attractive to them. Therefore, they roared at Yun Chujo a few times, indicating that they should go with them. Therefore, Yun Chujo was sandwiched between the two wildfire tigers, one in front and one behind, and they walked towards the direction of the river. Yun Chujo was secretly happy. It was all thanks to these two stupid tigers. Otherwise, she would have really found the direction of the river. White steamed bun, how dare you lie to me? See how I retaliate against you. Chapter 1355 Riding a Tiger to Take Revenge. Lord Tigers, I only said half of what I said just now. Now, I'm going to tell you, do you know where the poison from the river came from? The two wildfire tigers shook their heads. They thought to themselves, of course we don't know. Fuck, if we know who did this, we'll kill him. Lai Yin, do you know where the poison came from? Sai, actually I didn't expect this either. But when I absorbed all the poison and wanted to cross the river, I was sucked into a palace by a huge suction force. Ouch! Why did my legs suddenly run out of strength? Lord Tigers, please wait for me to rest for a while. Let's continue walking. Yun Chujo staggered and sat on the ground. The two wildfire tigers were engrossed in listening and scratching their ears and cheeks to see if the river was really free of poison. When they saw Yun Chuji's reaction, they roared angrily. Lai Yin. Yun Chujo frowned and said, My two lords, I really don't have any strength left. Why don't I lick my face and sit on the back of one of you? Forget it, I know that this request is too much. Let's wait for me to recover from this. One of the wild raging flame tigers impatiently roared a few times before lying down on the ground. Lai Yan's face was filled with disbelief. Yun Chuji's face revealed an expression of disbelief. Lord Tiger, you really agreed? Heavens, you are simply the wisest and most unrestrained demon beast that I have ever seen. Then I will boldly go up. Yun Chujo climbed onto the back of Lai Yan's tiger. A trace of pride flashed across her eyes. Little fellow, with just my mouth, not only did I save my life, I even got a free mount. I have to admire myself. Lai Yan and Lai Yan continued to walk forward. Yun Chujo continued, When I regained consciousness, I actually found a tool spirit that looked like a white steamed bun standing in front of me. It opened its mouth and threatened me to hand over some weak water. It turns out that the reason why the river is poisonous is that the tool spirit added weak water into the river. Don't you think this tool spirit deserves to die? The two wildfire tigers stopped in their tracks in shock. What? Lai Yin. The poison in the river water was actually released by the Qi Ling? What was it for? Lord Tigers, continue walking. Let's talk as we walk. After hearing what Bai Mantis said, I immediately rebuked him angrily. What he did was simply letting down the Qi Ling's reputation. As a Qi Ling, he should be seeking benefits for the demonic beasts in the Great Desolate Realm. He actually poisoned the entire river in order to not be disturbed. Such a black-hearted Qi Ling really deserves to be killed. Two savage Lai Yin Tiger listened to the frequent nod. The little girl is right. This Qi Ling is really too shameless, too wicked. At first I wanted to just beat the Qi Ling to death, but I thought that if the Qi Ling died, the great wilderness would be in chaos, so I didn't kill it, just gave it a little lesson. Never thought that this shameless Qi Ling pretended to repent, but took advantage of my slack time. That treasure deceived away, but also sent me out, said to let the demon beast eat me. Do you think that white steamed bun is too shameless, too wicked? Yun Chujo said angrily. Two wildfire tiger angry roar. Also did not think of the hole in the words of Yun Chujo. Immediately carry Yun Chujo to Lai Yan. The white steamed bun in the underground palace thought that Yun Chujo was dead for sure. So he just took a nap for a while. And now that he saw it, he was so surprised that his eyeballs almost fell off. What was going on? Not only did the smelly girl not die, she even rode Lai Yan towards the river? Was his vision blurred? Or did Lai Yan go crazy? Chapter 1356. Bai Mantu's vicious scheme. Bai Mantu was so angry that he was jumping up and down. What the fuck? Lai Yan, you're a level 26 demonic beast. How dare you let that smelly girl ride on you? Are you a bitch? What did that smelly girl come for? Could she be here for revenge? Bai Mantu nervously continued to look outside. Yun Chujo sat on the back of Lai Yan feeling very pleased. She felt that it was necessary to let the 3.5-tailed red fox eat some meat so that it would grow bigger. This way she could ride it around in the future. Let's hope this thing gets a little bigger with its fourth tail. An hour later, the wildfire tiger carried Yun Chujo to Lai Yan on the river. It just so happened that Yun Chujo drank a stomach of venom. Two savage Lai Yan tiger walked to the river bank. See the river water, there are some small fish and shrimp. Suddenly surprised, stunned. Heavens! What the little girl said was actually true. The poison in the river was really gone. Yun Chujo jumped off the tiger's back. Lord Tigers, I didn't lie to you, did I? The poison in the river was really absorbed by my treasure. Look, this stone tablet was erected by me. The two wildfire tigers followed the direction Yun Chujo pointed and indeed saw a stone tablet. It seemed that the little girl really did not lie to them. The two wildfire tigers roared at each other. It was obvious that they were discussing how to deal with Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo blinked her eyes and said, Sir Tigers, you can continue your work. I will go to the river to seek revenge from that damned weapon spirit. After saying that, Yun Chujo jumped into the river. The two wildfire tigers did not make up their minds to eat her. When they saw that she had jumped into the river, they did not chase after her. Instead, they began to look for a favorable terrain and prepared to settle down here. After Yun Chujo activated the water repellent bead, she began to search for the location of the weapon spirit's palace on the riverbed. When Baimanta saw that Yun Chujo was really going to take revenge on him, cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He had to think of a way to prevent her from finding his hiding place. Baimantu's eyes suddenly lit up. Humph, I'm the boss of my territory. Watch how I torture you. Yun Chujo was searching the riverbed when she suddenly felt a strong suction force. Yun Chujo knew that this was definitely caused by Baimantu, so she did not resist. She just happened to find Baimantu and teach it a good lesson. Yun Chujo had just opened her eyes when she saw Baimantu give a sinister smile. Then a white light flashed in front of Yun Chujo's eyes again. Yun Chujo immediately understood what Baimantu was planning. This guy was planning to teleport her to the mouth of some demon beast. Damn it! Baimantu, just you wait, I will come back. When Yun Chujo opened her eyes, she found that she was stuck on a huge net. In the distance, there was a wild golden-backed poisonous spider that was quickly crawling towards her. Yun Chujo was shocked at first, then she laughed out loud. When Baimanta saw Yun Chujo, not only was she not shocked, she even laughed out loud. It thought that the stupid girl must have been scared crazy. How dare you offend me? I will torture you to death. Just as Baimantu was feeling smug, something that it would never forget for the rest of its life happened. When Yun Chujo saw the wild golden-backed poisonous spider crawling over, she unhurriedly summoned the ball of yarn. When the ball of yarn saw the huge sticky silk net and the wild golden-backed poisonous spider crawling over, it was so happy that it could not close its mouth. I was just worried that I didn't have enough sticky silk to knit a sweater. I didn't expect someone to come to me voluntarily. This is great. Chapter 1357. The baby loved it the most. The savage golden-backed poison spider was preparing to have a good meal when a ball of yarn popped out of nowhere. The eyes above its head revealed a cold and gloomy light. It ate the ball of yarn first. Thus, the savage golden-backed poison spider shot out a bunch of poisonous sticky silk towards the ball of yarn. What it didn't expect was that after the ball of yarn grabbed the sticky silk with its small claws, it began to wrap the ball of yarn. While wrapping it, it said, "TSK TSK. The quality of the sticky silk of this high-level demon beast is really good. When I go back, I'll throw away the original 6-piece sweater set and knit a new one." The savage golden-backed poison spider was dumbfounded. What was it talking about? What did its sticky silk have to do with the 6-piece sweater set? Moreover, its sticky silk was extremely poisonous. Why was the ball of yarn unharmed even when it was pulled with its claws? The wild gold-backed poisonous spider quickly sensed that something was wrong. The sticky silk was continuously being extracted by the ball of thread. The sticky silk in the poison silk sac was almost completely extracted by the ball of thread. It decided to crawl over and eat the ball of thread. The wild gold-backed poisonous spider had just taken a few steps forward when several small purple needles shot towards its eyes. The wild gold-backed poisonous spider hurriedly tried to dodge. Yun Chujo curled her lips and started to release the pigs. Several piglets with spiritual power rushed towards the wild gold-backed poisonous spider. The wild gold-backed poisonous spider was scared silly. A group of piglets? Just as it was in a daze, one of the piglets with spiritual power bit down on its eyes above its head. The wild gold-backed poisonous spider screamed in pain. Its biggest attack weapon was the poisonous silk. However, the poisonous silk was constantly extracted by the ball of yarn, and its body was attacked by the piglets with spiritual power. It quickly bit off the poisonous silk with its teeth and turned around to run. Damn it, where did this group of monsters come from? It could not defeat them, so it was more important to save its life. It was better to run first. Mao Qiu saw that the savage golden-back poison spider was about to run, so it immediately became anxious. Master, quickly stop this ugly monster. I want its sticky thread. Yun Chujiu had no choice but to keep releasing the spiritual energy little pigs. She directed the spiritual energy little pigs to form a pig wall, blocking the way of the savage golden-back poison spider. The wild gold-backed poison spider was about to cry. I was about to fucking run away, but you guys still refused to let me go. You guys are really bullying the spider. Since that's the case, I'll fight it out with you guys. The wild gold-backed poison spider shot out poisonous threads to attack the little piglets of spiritual power. Mao Qiu immediately jumped up and excitedly extracted the poisonous threads. He even kept saying, "Come, come. You shoot more poisonous threads. This baby loves it." 15 minutes later, the wild gold-backed poisonous spider died. It was unknown whether it was bitten to death by the spiritual power piglet or angered to death by the ball of yarn. When Baimanta saw that the wild gold-backed poisonous spider had died so easily, he could not believe his eyes. He was so angry that he jumped around the room. How was this possible? Why was that ball of yarn not afraid of the poisonous threads? Baimanta gritted his teeth. Stupid girl, I don't believe that you are so lucky every time. Bitch, let's see what you will do next. You are now in the most dangerous forest of the great wilderness mystic realm. You will definitely die without a complete corpse. Yun Chujiu was saved by the ball of yarn from the poisonous thread. She found that this was a dense forest with thick fallen leaves on the ground. Yun Chujiu recalled the poison ivy forest she had encountered before, and did not jump onto the ground directly. Instead, she threw a few stones onto the fallen leaves. There was nothing unusual, so Yun Chujiu jumped onto the ground. Yun Chujiu chose a direction and carefully walked forward. After walking for a while, Yun Chujiu smelled a strange fragrance and was delighted. Could it be that there was a high-grade spirit herb? However, she also knew that there were demon beasts guarding the high-grade spirit herb nearby, so she carefully went over. After 15 minutes, Yun Chujiu found the source of the strange fragrance. It was actually a large colorful mushroom. Chapter 1358 Seven-Colored Snake Mushroom. As the saying goes, the brighter the color of the mushroom, the more poisonous it is. The color of these mushrooms is comparable to the color of the rainbow. One can imagine how poisonous they are. The strange grass in Yun Chujiu's dantian immediately clamored to eat the mushrooms. Yun Chujiu could not help but curse in her heart. Damn it, she only knew how to eat in one day. She was a Guai Chao. However, compared to drinking the poisonous river water, Yun Chujiu felt that eating these poisonous mushrooms was still acceptable. This fellow would not admit it. In fact, when she smelled the strange fragrance, she was also a little greedy. Since these were poisonous mushrooms, there should not be any guardian beasts. However, to be on the safe side, Yun Chujiu still threw a few small stones to test the waters. After seeing that there was nothing unusual, she moved closer. She used the large kitchen knife to chop off a mushroom and started to chew on it. Needless to say, this poisonous mushroom tasted fresh and sweet. It actually had a different taste. After eating a few large mushrooms, Yun Chujiu started to sweep the area. She used the large kitchen knife to chop off all the large mushrooms. After chopping off all the large mushrooms, she also dug up a few small mushrooms, preparing to plant them in a suitable place to eat them later. Xiao Mogu was quite conscientious and did not kill all of them. He left the roots of the large mushrooms and some small mushrooms behind so that they could continue to reproduce in the future. Just as Yun Chujiu was feeling satisfied, she heard a noise from underground. She was so frightened that she immediately jumped onto a large tree next to her. Suddenly, dozens of colorful vipers crawled out from underground. When Yun Chujiu saw these vipers, she suddenly remembered the names of these mushrooms. These colorful mushrooms were called seven-colored snake mushrooms. The reason why they were called seven-colored snake mushrooms was because these mushrooms were cultivated with the venom of the level 26 Desolation seven-colored striped snake. The seven-colored striped snake cultivated these seven-colored snake mushrooms for its own consumption, and for the purpose of trapping its prey. The demon beasts were attracted by the strange fragrance of these mushrooms. Once they got close to this place, the Desolation seven-colored striped snake would be able to enjoy a good meal. Originally, Yun Chujio would have discovered these mushrooms once she got close to them. However, today was the day when the small snakes hatched, so the big snakes were waiting for the young snakes to hatch in the underground nest. Therefore, Yun Chujio took advantage of this opportunity. It almost destroyed their thousands of years of hard work. One could imagine how furious the snakes were. The snakes soon discovered Yun Chujio on the tree. A few wild seven-colored striped snakes climbed up the tree trunk. Yun Chujio was so scared that she cried out repeatedly, "Io, it's not weird if you don't know. I didn't know this was your private land either. Besides, didn't I not kill all of them? In a few years, these mushrooms will grow again." The snakes were so angry that they were half dead. It was easy for them to say that. In a few years, a few decades wouldn't be able to grow to the same size as before. The detestable little girl must be killed today. Of course, Yun Chujio would not sit still and wait for her death. She used the sticky silk to swing onto another tree. Just as she was feeling proud of herself, something unexpected happened. The wild seven-colored striped snakes also jumped onto this tree. That's right, they really did jump. The abdomen of these wild seven-colored striped snakes was different from other snakes. They actually had 4 short claws, but they were too short. Yun Chujio didn't see it just now. This guy immediately panicked. He thought that he could escape from the snakes by relying on the sticky wires, but he didn't expect these damn snakes to jump. This time it really took her life. These wild seven-colored striped snakes not only knew how to jump, but they were also very cunning. Yun Chujio quickly discovered their intention. They actually climbed onto the trees around Yun Chujio, trying to cut off all of Yun Chujio's paths. Chapter 1359. Strike the snake at its 7 inches. Yun Chujio's heart tightened. What should she do? Although she was not afraid of their venom, she could not stand being bitten. At this moment, a wild seven-colored striped snake leaped onto the tree where Yun Chujio was and quickly crawled towards the branch where Yun Chujio was. Yun Chujio aimed several purple needles at its eyes and 7 inches. The wild seven-colored striped snake nimbly dodged Yun Chujio's attack and shot out a stream of venom at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio only slightly avoided her face. As for the rest of the area, if you want to spit it out, just spit it out. Although it was a little disgusting, it wouldn't do anything. Seeing that Yun Chujio wasn't afraid of its venom, the wild seven-colored striped snake climbed up even faster and spat out its bright red tongue, wanting to swallow Yun Chujio into its stomach. Yun Chujio raised her hand, and a small pig of spiritual power pounced at the wild seven-colored striped snake, biting on the 7 inches of the wild seven-colored striped snake. The wild seven-colored striped snake was so scared that it quickly twisted its body. It wanted to shake the small pig of spiritual power down, but the small pig of spiritual power firmly grabbed the snake's skin and bit the 7 inches of the wild seven-colored striped snake. The wild seven-colored striped snake immediately fell off the tree trunk in pain. Yun Chujio was overjoyed. She did not expect that the small pig of spiritual power was very good at dealing with poisonous snakes. However, she was obviously happy too early. The wild seven-colored striped snake just now was just too careless. The other wild seven-colored striped snakes had learned their lesson. When Yun Chujio released the spiritual energy piglet again, they directly used their venom or tails to disperse the spiritual energy piglet. The spiritual energy piglet had no chance to bite their 7 inches. Yun Chujio's heart sank to the bottom of the valley again. She gritted her teeth and simply jumped onto the ground. She held up the spiritual power barrier and ran fiercely. The snake swarm was chasing closely behind her. The forest was densely packed with trees. How could Yun Chujio escape from those poisonous snakes? Very soon, she was surrounded by the poisonous snakes in the middle. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. Damn it, if it weren't for the fact that she couldn't use the talisman here, I could blow you all into pieces in a minute. Yun Chujo had no choice but to activate all her defensive spirit tools and fight the snakes head-on. Although Yun Chujo had killed and injured a few snakes with the help of the little pig and the small purple needle, it was still a drop in the bucket. There were still dozens of wild 7-colored striped snakes crazily attacking Yun Chujo's defensive barrier. Yun Chujo had no choice but to release puppet number 1, who was severely injured. The snakes were shocked by the sudden appearance of puppet number 1 and sprayed a large amount of venom at puppet number 1. However, the venom did not harm puppet number 1 at all. 2 sharp forks popped out from puppet number 1's arms, and it began to kill the snakes with both hands. Puppet number 1 specialized in attacking the 7-inch and 7-inch eyes of the wild rainbow-striped snake. The effect was quite remarkable. Yun Chujo was so happy that she almost clapped her hands and cheered. However, this fellow knew that the most important thing now was to escape. Although he was reluctant to part with puppet number 1, he could not care less about his life and ran away. Seeing that Yun Chujo was going to run away, the snakes were unwilling to give up. Some of them stayed to attack puppet number 1, but most of them still chased after Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo mumbled as she ran. "Damn it! Didn't I just pluck some of your mushrooms? Do you have to be so stubborn? If you provoke me, I will burn all your mushrooms to death." Yun Chujo's heart skipped a beat when she said this. Yes, these snakes cared about their mushrooms the most. She might as well use this as a threat to see if these snakes would still dare to show off. Chapter 1360. Puppet number 2. Thinking of this, Yun Chujo dashed toward the place where the colorful snake mushrooms grew. When she reached the place, Yun Chujo struck a tree next to her with lightning, and a burnt mark immediately appeared on the tree trunk. "Little loaches, I'm warning you. If you dare to come any closer, I will completely destroy your mushrooms. I will make sure that you will never see these mushrooms again for the rest of your lives," Yun Chujo said arrogantly while setting up a defensive barrier. The snakes hissed and hissed angrily. It was obvious that they were about to explode from anger. However, looking at the scorched marks on the tree, if the smelly girl really wanted to fight to the death, she would really destroy the mushrooms. In that case, their gains would not make up for their losses. The snakes did not dare to go forward and attack. Yun Chujo also did not dare to really destroy the mushrooms. The two sides were in a stalemate. Yun Chujo raised her spiritual energy barrier and simply took out her weapon refining furnace to start making puppets. Damn it. Anyway, she still had a ready-made puppet disc in her storage ring. After she finished making puppet number 2, she would kill these damn snakes. The snakes didn't know what Yun Chujo was going to do, so they didn't dare to attack recklessly. They were afraid that Yun Chujo would really destroy the mushroom field. At this moment, the other half of the snakes crawled back. Yun Chujo's heart sank. She didn't know how puppet number 1 was doing. Since the snakes had come back, puppet number 1 was either destroyed or had run out of spiritual stones. Although puppet number 1 was just a dead object, Yun Chujo still couldn't bear to part with a trace of Yun Chujo's spiritual sense on the puppet disc. Forget it, she would solve the current situation first and then go check it out. Yun Chujo had been in a stalemate with the snakes for 6 hours. The snakes couldn't hold it in any longer. A wild 7-colored striped snake shot a stream of venom at Yun Chujo's defensive barrier. Yun Chujo's eyes darkened. She waved her hand. Kacha directly cut the roots of a large mushroom into charcoal. "I'm warning you. I'm not playing around with you. If you attack me, I'll destroy a mushroom. If you don't believe me, try me." Yun Chujo's lightning strike immediately shocked the snakes. The snakes did not dare to attack Yun Chujo anymore. They hissed and hissed their tongues as they discussed what to do. Yun Chujo tightened her hands. Fortunately, she had a puppet disc ready. After the puppet was completed, Yun Chujo placed the puppet disc inside and placed a few supreme-grade spirit stones on it. Then the iron puppet opened its eyes. Puppet 2 is complete. At this time, the snakes also came up with a strategy. They surrounded Yun Chujo layer by layer so that even if Yun Chujo used lightning, it would only hit them, not the mushrooms. Yun Chujo also do not and they ink directly release puppet number 2, and then released 3 half Xiaohong red fox. It immediately began to howl. The 3-tailed and half-small red fox immediately began to howl. Yun Chujiu took advantage of the time when the snakes were in a daze to release several piglets of spiritual power. These piglets of spiritual power went straight for the 7 inches of the snakes. As the snakes were affected by the cries of the 3-tailed and half-small red fox, their reactions were slow by half a beat. Immediately, a few piglets of spiritual power succeeded in killing Xiaohong. Yun Chujiu's spirits were greatly boosted. Killing one would result in 1 less piglet. It was just that puppet number 2 was too thin. It would be great if puppet number 1 could come back. Yun Chujiu's eyes lit up. She took out Xiao He and gave it a few instructions. Then, Xiao He burrowed into the ground and disappeared. Yun Chujiu's original intention was to let Xiao He find puppet number 1. If puppet number 1 ran out of spirit stones, she would let Xiao He put on top-grade spirit stones so that puppet number 1 could come back and participate in the battle. Unexpectedly, Xiao He made an unexpected discovery. Chapter 1361. What else can we do, Master? I've found the nest of those snakes. There are some small snakes that have just broken out of their shells. Xiao He sent back a message with its spiritual sense. Xiao He, get me a few small snakes. They have to be alive. Be careful, don't kill them. Yun Chujiu's eyes lit up. Although this matter was a little despicable, there was nothing she could do in order to survive. Not long after, Xiao He returned with a string of small snakes on its claws. These small snakes were just born and could not spray venom, so the little black rats were not afraid of them at all. When the snakes saw the small snakes, they immediately became extremely angry. They hissed and stuck out their tongues, crazily attacking Yun Chujiu's defensive barrier. If you want to kill these little things, you can continue to attack, Yun Chujiu said fiercely. The snake group didn't dare to move. The higher the level of the demon beast, the harder it was to breed. These little snakes were hatched by the snake group after hundreds of years. Naturally, they were extremely precious. I didn't want their little lives. Besides, I didn't know that these mushrooms were your reserve food. As the saying goes, those who don't know won't be blamed. I'll compensate you with some medicinal pills and let these little snakes go. Don't chase me anymore. Let's forget about our grudges. How about it? The snakes were about to collapse. What? What else could they do? You're too despicable. Yun Chujiu saw that although the snakes were angry, they didn't attack her anymore. She knew that they agreed, so she threw them a few bottles of super-quality blood coagulation pills and exploding spirit pills. She walked forward with the small snakes in her hands. You can't all follow me. Otherwise, I'll return the small snakes to you. What if you go back on your word? And most 3 of you can follow me. The rest of you should guard your nest. TSK, I'm not the one who's criticizing you. Are there any parents as incompetent as you? How dare you leave your children in your nest? You've met a kind person like me. If you meet a cruel person, your little babies will all die. The snakes were both ashamed and angry. They hissed and spat their tongues, wishing they could swallow Yun Chujiu. However, they had to admit that Yun Chujiu was right. They were indeed careless and did not leave a single snake in the nest. The snakes had no choice but to send 3 wild 7-colored striped snakes to continue following Yun Chujiu. The rest of the snakes returned to the nest to take care of the remaining small snakes while the rest checked on the condition of the mushrooms. Yun Chujiu soon discovered puppet number 1 lying on the ground. Some of the parts had been broken by the tail of the wild 7-colored striped snakes. Yun Chujiu put puppet no. 1 into her spirit beast bag and placed the few small snakes on the ground. She ran away quickly. Although the 3 wild 7-colored striped snakes wanted to kill Yun Chujiu, they knew that they could not kill Yun Chujiu with just the 3 of them. They could only swallow the small snakes on the ground and return to their nest. Yun Chujiu was afraid that the snakes would chase after her again. She ran until she felt that the distance was safe. Then she sat on the ground and panted. Damn it, she was going to die. She always earned something from every trial. This time, other than Guai Chao drinking to her heart's content, she didn't do anything stupid. She even lost a large part of her defensive spiritual artifact. It was really a huge loss. Yun Chujo gritted her teeth. She couldn't just let it go like this. By Mantu, just you wait. I want you to compensate me for the double loss. By Mantu sneezed loudly. After checking, she saw that Yun Chujo was still alive. She was so angry that she was jumping around. This stupid girl was too difficult to deal with. Dozens of wild 7-colored striped snakes couldn't even kill her. Chapter 1362 Spirit Energy Piglet Yun Chujo took out some dry rations as she ate. If she wanted to take revenge on Bai Mantu, she had to first leave the forest and then trick a demon beast to lead the way. Only then would she be able to find the Great River. That's right, that's what she should do. However, before that, she had to first repair puppet number 1. Otherwise, if she encountered another demon beast, she would have to expend her defensive spirit tool. Yun Chujo took out puppet number 1 and looked at it. Many parts of it were badly damaged, so it was really difficult to repair it. Seeing that it was already late, Yun Chujo found an empty space and melted puppet number 1 into molten iron. Then she refined another refined iron puppet. After refining it, she let the 3 little ones take turns to be on guard. Yun Chujo took out her all-purpose tent and lay in it, sleeping soundly. Not long after Yun Chujo fell asleep, Xiao Hei squeaked. Yun Chujo climbed out of the tent and saw blue lights flashing around her. Clearly, there were demon beasts surrounding her. Yun Chujo now had 2 iron puppets in her hands. She had some confidence, so she was not in a hurry to escape. She was ready to see what kind of demon beast it was. A moment later, 3 level 26 Savage Wind Blade Wolves walked out of the forest, drooling as they stared at Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo was puzzled. Why did these demonic beasts drool when they saw her? Was she that beautiful? This guy shamelessly praised himself, then said to the 3 Savage Wind Blade Wolves, "It's so late at night. Why aren't you sleeping? Get lost." The 3 Wild Wind Blade Wolves felt that the little girl was probably not awake and was talking nonsense. Otherwise, she would only dare to talk to them like that unless she was crazy. The 3 Wild Wind Blade Wolves roared and stomped on the ground, ready to pounce on Yun Chujo. "Wait! 3 puppies, how about we make a deal?" Yun Chujo said with a smile. 3 puppies? Probably any wolf would be angry after being called a little dog. And these 3 Wild Wind Blade Wolves were no exception. They immediately fired several wind blades at Yun Chujo, and Yun Chujo activated her defensive spirit tool while dodging. Her mouth wasn't idle either. "Hey, don't you know what is polite? I haven't finished speaking, and you are already making a move? How shameless." The 3 Wild Wind Blade Wolves were furious. "We are demonic beasts and you are humans. What business do we have with you? Besides, you are the dog. Your whole family is dogs." Yun Chujo wanted to test the power of the 2 puppets, so she released puppet number 1 and puppet number 2. Number 1, number 2 attack. Beat him up. The 3 Wild Wind Blade Wolves were confused. What the hell was this? Puppet number 1 and puppet no. Two charged at 1 Wild Wind Blade Wolf, while Yun Chujo grinned at the remaining Wild Wind Blade Wolf. "Puppy, come here. I'll show you what a gang fight is." The Wild Wind Blade Wolf looked around in confusion. There were no other humans. What was this girl talking about? It soon understood what Yun Chujo meant by a group fight. As Yun Chujo waved her hands, several cute little piggies with spiritual power pounced at it. The Wild Wind Blade Wolf quickly fired the wind blades to disperse the little piggies with spiritual power. However, unexpectedly, the little piggies swallowed the wind blades and pounced at it even more fiercely. The savage wind blade wolf was so scared that it almost cried. What the hell was this? This was the first time it had seen a materialization spell that could swallow the opponent's spiritual energy. This was too abnormal. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.